Our boy comes home to find his dad unconscious on the floor, wearing a strange VR helmet. Faced with this tragedy, he drops to his knees crying in pure despair. At the funeral, the police approach our boy to ask about his father. Drowning in guilt and sorrow, he can't stop recalling his dad's strange behavior. It turns out our boy's mother passed away 12 years ago. Ever since that tragic day, his father became overly paranoid and completely changed for an unknown reason. His dad developed severe OCD and suffocating overprotectiveness. Even a simple trip to kindergarten involved turning back multiple times just to check the gas stove. Growing up in such a stifling environment turned our boy into a coward. Thanks to his dad's crazy reputation, he became an easy target for school bullies to mock and harass. Faced with their endless insults, our boy doesn't even have the courage to fight back. He flinches and covers his head at the slightest movement, feeling utterly powerless. Flashing back to right before the incident, our guy was struggling financially. Staring at the crashing stocks and his empty bank account, the overwhelming stress seems to be brewing a storm within him. Flashback to a few days ago. The father comes home trying to check on his son, but our boy, already completely stressed out in front of his computer, finally hits his breaking point. Faced with his father's helpless sighs and his typical, "I knew this would happen," all the pent-up frustration inside our boy completely explodes. "If you know everything, why are we still living like this? You don't even remember it's my birthday." Years of grievance turn into venomous words, stabbing right into his father's heart. "If you're just going to live like a coward, you might as well die." After screaming those harsh words, he slams the door, leaving his shocked father standing alone in front of the mirror. Who could have thought those angry words would become a curse? Back in the present, at the funeral, our boy receives a will full of apologies and an unsaid birthday gift. Looking at his father's gentle smile in the portrait and reading his heartbreaking blessings, our boy kneels on the floor, entirely consumed by endless tears and regret. But reality doesn't give him a second to breathe. The moment he returns to his cheap apartment, the ruthless landlords corner him for rent, complaining that his father's death is bad luck. Staring at those cold, heartless faces, our boy is completely crushed. In this freezing world, not a single person cares whether he lives or dies anymore. In the depths of his despair, he opens the box to reveal a mysterious VR headset called Other Eye. Touching his father's last gift, he weeps. But little does he know, this device is about to completely rewrite his destiny. Staring at his father's final birthday gift, our boy doesn't hesitate to put on the mysterious VR headset. As the system boots up, a holographic projection of his dad suddenly pops up right in front of him. The shock makes him yank off the headset, his heart pounding. But after a brief moment of panic, desperate to confirm it wasn't a hallucination, he takes a deep breath and puts the device back on. Reconnecting to the system, it displays him at level 1 and forcefully activates a special skill called Preview. Seeing his dad's smiling eye, our boy is completely bewildered, having no idea what's about to happen next. Then, the vision warps, pulling him straight into a preview of the future. In this vision, a strange woman stops him, claiming she was entrusted by his late father to hand over a hefty sum of cash. Watching her pull a massive stack of bills out of her bag, our boy's eyes go wide. This sudden windfall leaves him utterly dumbfounded, making him wonder if he's just dreaming. While the shower of cash is still blowing his mind, the system's notification ruthlessly breaks the illusion. Since the preview skill has gone on cooldown, this unbelievable vision is forced to hit pause. Seeing his dad's image fading, our boy screams out in desperation, yanking off the headset to return to reality. He's left sitting alone on the floor of his empty room, panting heavily. He fiddles with the headset in disbelief, only to find it completely shut down, likely out of battery. The whole experience was so bizarre that he starts wondering if it was all just a crazy hallucination. Fast forward to the next day. Just as he tries to rationalize that his debt-ridden father couldn't leave him a fortune, a sudden knock on the door interrupts him. The wheels of fate are finally turning. The next day, our boy answers a knock to find the exact woman from his vision. She steps inside, sympathetically recounting memories of his late father. After a brief chat, she pulls a thick stack of fresh bills from her bag, explaining that his father had asked her to deliver this allowance. Holding that heavy stack of cash, our boy is completely stunned. Not only does this solve his immediate crisis, but it also proves his future sight ability is absolutely real. The peace is short-lived as a loud banging echoes from the door. The nasty landlord is trying to force his way in with a new tenant to kick our boy out. Instead of backing down, our boy boldly throws the door open and slaps a wad of cash right in the landlord's face, fiercely securing his home. After dismissing the greedy landlord, our boy finally checks the woman's business card, only to realize she is actually a detective from the Seoul Metropolitan Police. These incredible events make him even more eager to explore the VR headset. After charging it for hours, he puts the device back on with thrilling anticipation. As the system boots up, his father's familiar AI hologram appears again. Before our boy can even speak, a flashy notification pops up, congratulating him on reaching level 2. Leveling up is great, but the newly unlocked skill instantly sends a chill down his spine. The system is forcing him to preview the worst possible event happening tomorrow. Before our boy could even celebrate his level up, the system forces a terrifying new command. In a flash, he's dragged into a hyper-realistic preview of tomorrow's absolute worst-case scenario. The future unfolds, and our boy finds himself back on the school playground, surrounded by his bullies. Before he can react, a heavy brick, thrown just to scare him, comes flying straight at his face. The brutal impact sends him crashing down, as agonizing phantom pain floods his senses. While the bullies panic over their accidental manslaughter, the system mercifully ends the simulation, pulling our boy out of the loop. Collapsing on the floor drenched in sweat, our boy gasps as the lingering phantom pain courses through him. Recalling those vicious faces and that deadly brick, he realizes this wasn't just a nightmare, it's a terrifying warning. Remembering how those scumbags mercilessly mocked his father's death, his fear quickly turns into burning resolve. Clenching his fists, our boy realizes he now holds the ultimate power to foresee and rewrite his miserable fate. Thrilled by his new reality, our boy is ready to change his destiny immediately. Unfortunately, the high-tech headset needs hours to charge, leaving him anxiously counting the minutes until nightfall. Once fully charged, he eagerly logs back in. Having tasted the power of foresight, our boy cheekily asks his AI dad the ultimate question: how about dropping those winning lottery numbers? Upon unlocking the level 3 skills, our boy doesn't hesitate to check the new feature. He immediately asks to preview the worst 5 minutes of his tomorrow. The preview drops him into tomorrow's classroom, where furious bullies surround him. Before our boy can react, a brutal punch lands straight on his face, leaving him beaten on the floor. Snapping back to reality, our boy is terrified that tomorrow's punch might actually kill him. Thankfully, his father's AI offers a lifeline: 5 simulated training sessions to prepare. The first simulation drops him right back into the exact same scenario. As the bullies launch their attack, our boy panics and tries to block, but completely fails to defend himself. The simulation is absolutely ruthless. He takes hit after heavy hit, collapsing to the ground with zero chance to fight back, enduring a relentless and one-sided beating. Collapsing in reality, our boy is shocked by how real the virtual pain feels. But with only 4 attempts left, he refuses to give up, angrily demanding to start over. The next day arrives, bringing the prophesied crisis. Bored out of their minds, the bullies decide to target our boy for some quick entertainment during the break. But after surviving the hellish training, our boy is ready. He sits calmly, ignoring their taunts. As the bully confidently reaches out, the real counterattack is about to begin. Facing the bully's provocations, our boy shows no sign of fear. Annoyed by his calm demeanor, one of the lackeys cracks his knuckles, ready to teach him a lesson. Normally, our boy would be taking a severe beating. But thanks to his virtual training, he easily blocks the punch and perfectly predicts the enemy's next move. Not yet, wait for it. Watching the bullies lunge at him, our boy silently calculates the perfect timing to dodge, stepping around as casually as if he's taking a stroll. At the very last second, he aggressively sidesteps. The bullies lose their balance and crash into each other. Meanwhile, our boy smoothly pulls up a chair and sits down like an absolute boss. Humiliated, the lackey scrambles up and starts cursing furiously. But he doesn't realize he just yelled right at Jang-suk, the head bully, instantly turning his rage into pure terror. Pushing his lackey aside, Jang-suk shifts his intense gaze to our boy. Facing the school's top tyrant, he doesn't back down. He even boldly suggests postponing their fight to tomorrow, leaving everyone stunned. Hearing this absurd proposal, Jang-suk lets out a disdainful laugh, convinced our boy is just stalling for time. Little does he know, this one-day delay is exactly the deadly trap being set for him. Sweating but determined, our boy fires up his VR headset, hoping to catch a glimpse of tomorrow's brutal fight. Inside the virtual space, our boy is shocked to see he's leveled up. The system unlocked new skills, a preview for the future, and a review for today's events. A light bulb goes off in our guy's head. Realizing the potential, he excitedly replays today's confrontation to find his opponent's weak spot. Watching the holographic replay, our boy carefully studies every angle. He silently calculates if throwing the first punch would have changed the outcome. Armed with a strategy, he activates the preview for tomorrow. Surprisingly, the simulation shows our guy landing a solid hit on the school bully, leaving the villain totally stunned. That strike only enrages Jangsuk. With a furious roar, the villain's devastating counterpunch knocks our boy right out of the simulation. Waking up, he realizes the terrifying power gap. Refusing to back down, our boy puts the headset back on. Gritting his teeth, he dives straight into the hellish training simulation, fighting until the system forces him out. Staring at his VR headset, our boy is hit by a grim realization. He's physically exhausted from training, and if he fights tomorrow as he is, he won't last 2 minutes. To survive, he decides to skip school and rest up. He hoped for a quiet day of rest, but the bullies actually tracked him down to his home. As they pound on his door, their taunts ring out. They're convinced our boy is just a coward hiding in fear. The threats escalate as the bullies talk about breaking in and stealing everything. To make matters worse, his VR device isn't fully charged. Seeing the flickering light, our boy takes a deep breath and prepares to face them head-on. When our boy finally steps out, the bullies think he's surrendered. But with a cold gaze, he suggests they settle this elsewhere. Soon, the group arrives at a secluded, abandoned construction site. A bully named Sungdon cracks his knuckles, arrogantly claiming he'll make our boy regret this for life. Ignoring the trash talk, our boy stays silent, carefully watching for the right moment to strike back. The fight kicks off with a flurry of blows. Though he struggles at first, the results of his virtual training soon kick in. Timing it perfectly, our boy lands a heavy counterpunch that leaves Sungdon completely stunned. The surrounding lackeys are speechless, unable to believe the pushover they knew is now a powerhouse. Within just a few rounds, our boy takes total control, pitting Sungdon to the ground. With a final decisive move, the fight is over. Our boy stands over his fallen foe, his intense gaze serving as a final warning to never mess with him again. He didn't just win a fight, he reclaimed his dignity. Our boy's sudden outburst leaves everyone stunned. The bully, caught off guard by his hidden strength, demands to know why he's been hiding his fighting skills all this time. When force fails, the bully stoops to low blows, insulting our boy's late father to provoke him. Despite the dangerous look in our boy's eyes, the jerk keeps pushing, mocking the tragedy of his father's death. Our boy's gaze turns ice cold, his eyes glowing with a vengeful red tint. The bully finally senses the shift in the air, realizing the weak kid he once knew has transformed into someone truly formidable. Without a word, our boy delivers a powerful blow that sends Jangsuk sprawling. As he watches the bully fall, even our boy is a bit stunned, realizing he finally has the power to fight back against his fate. But the fight is far from over, and the power gap starts to tell. Despite training 5 times in the VR system, our boy is beaten bloody, beginning to fear that he might still be destined to lose. Just as the bully moves in for the finish, our boy throws all honor aside and tosses dirt into his eyes. It's a desperate move that grants him a moment to breathe, but it only drives the villain into a blind rage. Exhausted and out of options, our boy sprints away to escape the looming threat. With the bully's curses echoing behind him, the raw fear and fatigue push him to his absolute limit. As he bursts onto the road, a luxury car nearly takes him out. Seeing a chance to escape the chaos, our boy frantically begs the driver for help, realizing this might be his only way out of this nightmare. Our boy is spiraling into deep anxiety and self-doubt. After lashing out at his bullies, he hides in the shadows, gasping for breath and wondering if he's just made things worse. He feels like the world is a cold place with no one to turn to. Just then, Shin-Yiji finds our exhausted guy. Instead of a cold interrogation, she offers a gentle hand and her business card. In this dark night, it feels like the first piece of solid ground he's stepped on in a long time. The two find a quiet spot to sit and talk. Looking at the woman who's repeatedly saved his skin, our boy finally asks the question burning in his mind. How on earth did she know his seemingly ordinary father? The mood turns heavy as they look back. Our boy laments how his mother passed away young and his father always kept her a secret. Yiji listens solemnly before dropping a bombshell. His mother was actually her lifesaver. It turns out Yiji survived a horrific ordeal in high school thanks to Sunhwa's mother. Even when facing a wealthy, powerful culprit, Sunhwa's parents didn't back down. They stood by her and gave her a reason to keep living. Yiji admits she became a cop to repay the kindness, wanting to be just like his mother. Now, she's determined to stand by our boy no matter what, passing on the protection she once received. Shaken by the truth, our boy finally understands his father's overprotectiveness. Returning home as the clock nears midnight, he decides to stop running. He puts on the VR headset, ready to face whatever destiny has in store. As the VR system boots, his father's hologram flickers back to life. He's still at level 4, but the system's new advice rings loud and clear. Don't run from your fate, fight it. Our boy's resolve has never been stronger. Our boy puts on the VR helmet, only to see his father's hologram questioning him, making him anxious. Worse, the future flashing before his eyes brings him immense pain, revealing the worst thing is about to happen today. As his consciousness enters the virtual space, our boy finds himself in the familiar school alleyway. Yet, his vision is completely black, unable to see anything but hearing arrogant curses near his ear. Intense pain forces our boy to close his eyes. He recognizes the voice of Bully Jangsuk, realizing the VR system is replaying the very bullying incident he experienced just yesterday. Despite the immense pain, our boy yells in defiance, resolving to face this ordeal again as training, ready to confront it head-on. But reality is cruel. In the virtual space, he's pinned down, unable to move, forced to endure the bullies' taunts as they throw dirt into his eyes, again sinking into despair. After escaping the virtual world, our boy slumps to the floor, panting. He mutters, frustrated, "No matter what I do, two guys always hold my arms, and Jangsuk throws dirt in my eyes." The AI observes him coldly, seemingly testing his resilience. The bullies mockingly pin him to the ground, yelling, "You almost went blind yesterday, all because of you, you bastard." Our boy is once again suppressed, trapped in a desperate situation. Facing off against the bully Jangsuk, our boy is struggling to catch his breath. As he sweats through the tension, he realizes that those brutal virtual training sessions were actually starting to pay off. Before his opponent can even react, our boy finds an opening and lands a solid punch. The former pushover is now breaking through defenses, striking with a speed and precision that catches everyone off guard. Despite losing countless times in the virtual world, the muscle memory has stayed with him. He roars with determination, launching attack after attack and refusing to back down even an inch. The bystanders are completely stunned. Nobody expected Sun Woo to actually fight back against Jangsuk. However, while rage provides a boost, it can't instantly bridge the gap in raw physical power. After the intense clash, our boy eventually collapses from exhaustion. As Jangsuk stands over him with a mocking laugh, he's filled with frustration, but his body has finally hit its limit. Just then, an angry neighbor yells from his balcony, threatening to call the police. Jangsuk scoffs and walks away after one last insult, leaving a battered Sun Woo alone in the cold. Back at home, our boy checks his injuries in the mirror, feeling a sense of relief. He can't believe he survived that beating without any broken bones, wondering how his body became so resilient. He wants nothing more than to sleep, but the mysterious VR headset begins to glow, demanding he continue. Despite the agonizing pain, he grits his teeth and puts the device back on to keep getting stronger. Hard work pays off as our boy finally reaches level 5. His father's AI appears to congratulate him, unlocking a powerful new skill, a 10-minute preview of the worst event happening tomorrow, allowing him to train in advance. Our boy looks at the VR stats, feeling a bit skeptical. At an hour per session, finishing all previews would take all night. However, the system reminds him that he still has a massive amount of replay time left. Just then, the system reveals a game-changing secret. Time stands still in the real world during the preview. Skeptical, our boy checks his phone and sees it's still exactly 11 p.m. This is an absolute cheat code. Since real-world time is frozen, our boy comes up with a clever plan. He instructs the system to replay his 1 hour of sleep 10 times, effectively hacking his way to 10 hours of rest in a single instant. In the simulated environment, he repeats the deep sleep cycle over and over, letting his mind and body fully relax. Only after the system announces that all replay skills have been used does our boy finally wake up. When he takes off the headset, he's thrilled to find his exhaustion completely gone. It seems this relative time is incredibly effective, refreshing his mind and accelerating his physical recovery through extended rest. With his energy restored, our boy puts the device back on, ready for the real challenge. He activates the preview for tomorrow's worst-case scenario, and in a flash, he finds himself standing inside his classroom. Before he can even steady himself, he notices his classmates staring at him in sheer terror. In this future preview, he seems to have lost control. Confused, he wonders if he actually attacked his bully at school. Seeing his future self fighting back with a weapon, our boy is torn. Though he's still afraid in reality, he remembers the harsh words he once told his father and realizes he can no longer live in fear. Looking at his reflection, our boy vows to stop living as a coward. Grabbing his father's VR headset, he dives back into the simulation with newfound determination. It's 8 a.m., and the bullies are already running their mouths. They're convinced our boy is too scared to show up, even cruelly mocking his status as an orphan. The ringleader, Jang-suk, is overflowing with arrogance. Despite their previous clash, he remains dismissive, bragging that he'll crush our boy unconditionally the next time they meet. Just as the bullies are laughing, our boy makes a grand entrance with a flying kick. This aggressive display of power leaves everyone in the classroom completely stunned. Facing the provocation, our boy's eyes are chillingly calm. Unfazed by the physical disadvantage, he stands his ground, driving a furious Jang-suk to ask if he's ready to die. The fight breaks out instantly. Jang-suk swings with massive force, but our boy dodges every strike with ease, leaving the frustrated bully swinging at nothing but air. Even with his evasion training, our boy knows dodging alone won't win this. The physical gap is real, and he must find the perfect moment to strike back. As Jang-suk lunges again, our boy spots a tiny opening. This fight isn't just about revenge, it's about proving he's no longer the victim everyone once knew. The thugs chase our boy all the way up to the 5th floor, thinking they've cornered him. Little do they know, they are walking right into a trap. This is exactly the terrain our boy scouted during his virtual training last night. Holding the high ground, he effortlessly knocks back the first charging thug, shocking the rest. The roof door is locked, forcing the enemies to attack from below. In this staircase siege, as long as he holds the high ground, his reach advantage becomes his greatest weapon. Facing the thugs' provocations, our boy remains focused, fighting for his life. Just then, Jang-suk, the real campus bully, shows up with a wooden stick and a cold smirk. Jang-suk lunges like a mad dog with his weapon, but it's useless. Thanks to countless virtual beatings, our guy perfectly predicts the strike and catches the stick barehanded. Taking advantage of Jang-suk's momentary shock, our boy fully unleashes his purple eye ability. He steps on his hands and lands a brutal kick, sending the bully flying. He follows up with a flawless combo, taking down the remaining lackeys. The watching students are absolutely stunned to see the school's biggest bully getting destroyed by the quiet kid. Watching Jang-suk collapse in pain, our boy still feels anxious. He knows his attacks lack power, and despite using all his simulation attempts, he never found a way to truly defeat this monster. Sure enough, the thick-skinned bully quickly recovers. Dusting himself off, he sneers contemptuously at our exhausted boy. Is that little trick all you got? After taking a brutal hit, our boy is sent flying, but he refuses to stay down. Covered in blood, he grips his weapon with a chilling look of determination. Just when they thought he'd give up, our boy smashes the window and steps onto the ledge. This reckless move leaves everyone frozen in pure shock. Looking down at the terrified villains, our boy flashes a mocking smirk and suddenly leaps from the window, turning the fight into a high-stakes gamble. After landing, the enraged Jang-suk loses it, even insulting our boy's late father. He screams that Sunwoo is a lunatic trying to frame him for murder. Faced with the insults, our boy calmly picks up a knife. The pain of loss has left him fearless, and he shockingly dares the bully to finish him off. If you don't have the guts to kill me, then I'll kill you instead. With the knife in hand, our boy's cold gaze makes him look like a vengeful demon. A chaotic struggle breaks out as the two clash. Even while pinned down and taking heavy blows, our boy guards his vitals, waiting for a chance to strike. Kneeling amidst shattered glass and blood, our boy continues to taunt his attacker. He knows fists won't end him, and his suicidal resolve terrifies the bully. As Jang-suk's lackeys rush in, the scene devolves into total chaos. With a knife embedded in the floor, no one knows how this confrontation will end. Exhausted after the intense fight, everyone is catching their breath. While our boy recovers, the defeated bullies are already huddling together, plotting their next move. Jang-suk and his crew aren't backing down. Realizing they can't win in a fair fight, they decide to play dirty and frame our boy to get him arrested. Back at home, our boy puts on his VR gear to check his progress. He expects a level up, but the data he sees is far more shocking than he anticipated. In a terrifying vision, our boy sees himself being arrested by the police. Haunted by this future, he heads to school the next day as the clock strikes noon. A former bully approaches him with a suspicious apology and an invitation to hang out. Surprisingly, our boy plays along and accepts with a calm smile. At the apartment, everything looks like a normal social gathering, but the air gets heavy once our boy bluntly brings up their history of bullying. Seeing them exchange shifty, dark glances, our boy lets out a cold smile. He knows it's a trap, but he's ready to rewrite the destiny he saw. In a room, a serious-looking boy squints as he delivers an ultimatum to someone. If you can make it through today, I'll never touch you again. Several guys are in the room, with a leader in a hoodie asking someone how they like it. But the scene instantly shifts to violence erupting, as one boy is brutally punched to the ground, his glasses knocked off, leaving his onlookers shocked. The attacker angrily shouts, asking why the downed boy has that particular look on his face, while the victim frantically apologizes and pleads for him to stop. Seeing things spiral out of control, the boy in the hoodie grabs the attacker's arm to stop him, demanding to know why he's so furious. But the attacker, with a twisted expression, grabs a pair of scissors from the table and declares he'll show some real action. He raises the scissors, laughing maniacally as he threatens to cut. At that moment, the beaten boy, in pain yet defiant, staggers to his feet and offers a knife to his attacker. He even tears open his own shirt, daring the other to stab him. Witnessing this, the boy in the school uniform, who had tried to intervene earlier, breaks into a cold sweat and turns to desperately run out of the room. In the hallway, he catches sight of a strange figure wearing a helmet, resembling a delivery person, but in his panicked state, he has no time for details and just needs to escape. Soon, the violent conflict leads to serious consequences. Late at night, the police station is lit up, and the case is officially logged. Officers listen to statements from the parties involved in the office. One witness, agitated, accuses the beaten boy of being dangerous, claiming he broke a window and threatened someone with a pie just yesterday. At that moment, a young female officer arrives at the station, her presence immediately drawing attention. The female officer introduces herself as Shin Yi-ji and informs everyone that they are taking a separate statement from the victim, Song Kyung-min. Once finalized, Mr. Chun will be transferred to the detention center. Someone asks mockingly, who would believe the testimony of a thug? On the edge of the chaotic crowd, a boy in a school uniform, sweat on his cheek, watches it all unfold with an inscrutable smile. At the police station, officers are questioning several individuals involved in a violent incident, and one of them is clearly under significant pressure. The black-haired man being questioned responds with a somewhat defiant smirk, asking the officer directly, "What is it, asshole? Are you ready for jail time?" Meanwhile, our boy is alone on a rooftop, recalling the future vision he saw through his VR headset last night at 11 p.m. He foresees that the worst outcome tomorrow will be him being arrested for assaulting a classmate named Kyungmin with a pair of scissors. This terrible premonition is unsettling him deeply, but he firmly believes he would never do something like that without a reason. Back in the police station, however, the black-haired man, our boy's adversary Jang Suk, is pushing the narrative, trying to pin the assault on him. An officer interrupts the heated exchange, calmly asking if the investigation into the victim has been completed, hinting that he might have found something during the process. The officer produces a black recording device, asking the victim Kyungmin to listen carefully. The recording plays Jang Suk's voice, revealing his plot to frame our boy. The recording is confirmed to be true. Another student, who had been threatened to give false testimony, also steps forward, solidifying the fact that this was a setup orchestrated by Jang Suk. With the truth exposed and his plan dismantled on the spot, an agitated Jang Suk tries to defend himself, but the man in the suit beside him holds him back firmly. In the end, all Jang Suk can do is curse in despair, realizing that he has inadvertently turned himself from an accuser into the prime suspect of a conspiracy. Outside the police station, the man in the suit apologizes to our boy, who simply replies calmly, "It's okay, everything worked out." It's revealed that this man was the one who gave our boy the crucial tape recorder earlier in the morning. When asked how he knew this would happen, he just offered a knowing smile. A female police officer approaches, informing our boy that for now it seems Jang Suk will be referred to family court. A black-haired man is being interrogated. He's sweating, realizing that without a recording, he would have been blamed. He seems speechless, cornered by the undeniable evidence. The woman then explains that despite his lack of money, the man always bought peculiar gadgets, like miniature recorders and dash cams. With a gentle smile, the woman kindly asks if the other person is hungry, suggesting they go grab a bite to eat. Seated in the restaurant, the woman actively serves our boy, smiling as she mentions he likes pork chops. Our boy is visibly surprised, about to ask if his dad told her. The woman smiles, confirming it was indeed our boy's dad who told her. His dad would tirelessly mention our boy every time they spoke, even when she revealed she was a police officer. They continue their meal in a pleasant atmosphere. Amidst the relaxed atmosphere, the woman suddenly shares her past. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother remarried and left, leaving her to be raised by her grandmother. Our boy immediately apologizes upon hearing this. The woman continues, explaining that because of her difficult past, our boy's parents offered her immense help back then, inspiring her to become someone like them. Listening to her heartfelt confession, our boy also breaks into a warm smile. Later, our boy returns home and calls the woman from his apartment door to let her know he's safe. He affectionately calls her sis, thinking about how kind she is. As our boy ponders why his dad never mentioned this sister, he glances at the glowing green VR device. He suddenly realizes it's already 11 o'clock, time to put on the headset. After putting on the device, our boy is confused. The system isn't replaying today's events as usual. Instead, it warns him that the worst thing is about to happen, instantly putting him on high alert. The next second, the VR device begins a 10-minute preview, transporting our boy to an unfamiliar classroom. He curiously surveys his surroundings. It appears to be break time. The scene shifts to a man in a suit, smiling as he greets a new student, suggesting they get to know each other. Meanwhile, our boy in the VR is confused, having never seen this person before. The new student in the suit continues to interact cheerfully with those around him, even gesturing as if announcing his arrival. The atmosphere suddenly grows tense as a brown-haired boy furiously interrogates another black-haired boy, who's kneeling in fear. "Stop playing around. Do you want me to hit you first?" The black-haired boy is clearly terrified and at a loss. Just then, the new student who had previously greeted everyone calmly walks up to the bullied boy and casually says, "I transferred schools today. Let's get along, okay?" Watching this, our boy's forehead beads with sweat, clearly nervous. Our boy abruptly exits the VR world, kneeling on the floor in disbelief. Is that it? He glares at the VR headset, failing to understand how the worst thing foreshadowed by the system was just a 10-minute preview of greeting a new student. Facing the sudden, inexplicable anger of a companion, our boy is left flustered and confused, frantically apologizing without even knowing what he did wrong. Troubled and perplexed, our boy returns home. Exhausted, he sits on the floor, checking the device on his wrist while worrying about tomorrow's looming troubles and the constant fights he must endure. In a simulated classroom scene, a friendly yet unfamiliar classmate greets him, but this interaction hints at future trouble. Determined to find answers early, our guy decisively puts on his VR headset. As the VR system starts, the display immediately switches to a real-time stock market feed. Our boy blocks out all distractions, his eyes locked on the scrolling numbers, memorizing the rises and falls of stocks like Samsambio. After memorizing the stock data, he turns his remaining time to the wild world of cryptocurrency. He frantically jots down the predicted crypto prices in his notebook Vericoin plus 6.5, calculating the potential gains from a full investment. The thought of these incredible earning potentials overwhelms him with excitement. Using his power to make money seems like a perfect plan. However, his euphoria is quickly shattered by a cold dose of reality. As a minor without a legal guardian, he finds he can't even open a brokerage account to trade stocks or crypto. To make matters worse, verifying lottery numbers is also impractical. Realizing his incredible future sight is useless for making real money due to his age, frustration boils over, and he angrily throws his phone to the floor. Amidst this frustration, a warm memory surfaces. The policewoman, Shin Yiji, once offered to act as his guardian, treating him like family. The offer had made our boy blush back then. Our boy seemed deep in anxious thought, but a warm greeting from Sister Shin Yiji on the phone instantly lifted his spirits. He instructed her to write down everything he was about to say, starting now. Sister Yiji was puzzled by our boy's sudden mention of stocks, but hearing the stock codes, she cautiously asked how much money to invest. Our boy, full of confidence, told her to put in all her savings. To his surprise, Sister Yiji's face fell at the mention of stocks. It turned out her father had lost all their money in the stock market when she was a child, leaving her with a deep aversion to it. Our boy was utterly stunned by this revelation. Yiji continued to recount the childhood trauma, how her father even raided her piggy bank for gambling. Our boy grew anxious, understanding her resistance stemmed from past wounds, yet this was a chance to change the future. On screen, stock and crypto data fluctuate rapidly. Our boy's classmate, Sion, grins at his phone, clearly having made another big score. The scene shifts to our boy, Cheon Sunwoo, extending his hand with a friendly smile, introducing himself to a new classmate. I'm Chun Sunwoo. Let's be friends. As the sun sets, our boy and Sion walk together. Sion feels lucky to have transferred, not only making a good friend, but also hearing about our boy's heroic deed against the bully Jangsuk, and he tells our boy to just call him Sion. Sion then revealed his parents were abroad. He lived with a butler and was quite rich. Our boy was genuinely surprised, realizing his new classmate was a true scion of wealth. Then, Sion suggested going to a PC cafe with a friend, which slightly baffled our boy. A PC cafe felt like an unusual choice for a rich kid. At the PC cafe, Sion grandly offered to pay, immediately pulling out a stack of 50,000 won bills. Our boy quickly stopped him, explaining they wouldn't need that much just for 2 hours. Just then, our boy's eyes sharpened. He noticed a few younger students nearby being cornered by some older bullies. The older students were cornering the juniors, demanding money with crude words. Sion, standing next to our boy, naively asked the bullies how much they wanted, saying they could take it all, which only made the bullies mock him. Our boy couldn't hold back anymore. He grabbed Sion's hand, angrily demanding how he could just give his money away like that, effectively aiding the bullies. The nearby bullies watched our boy interfere. One bald guy, in particular, looked annoyed, finding our boy an irritating nuisance from the start. Bystanding students recognized our boy and began to gossip about his past, with some even maliciously suggesting he changed after his father's death. The school bullies are at it again. Led by Kim Woongmin, they aren't even afraid of the police. Our boy is forced to the ground, with a boot hovering right by his head in a display of pure humiliation. To stop the chaos, our boy tries to hand over his mysterious black device, hoping they'll just take it and leave. But these thugs aren't satisfied. They snatch the gear and continue their mockery in the dim alleyway. Despite the blood on his face, our boy's spirit isn't broken. He even dares to talk back, which only fuels the thug's rage. A brutal kick sends him flying as the violence spirals out of control. At the height of the crisis, a mysterious man in a suit and sunglasses steps in. He's incredibly calm, and when a thug tries to swing at him, he stops the attack effortlessly with a single hand. With a simple enough, the mysterious man exerts absolute dominance over the situation. Our boy doesn't know who this guy is yet, but his arrival has clearly changed the outcome of this deadly encounter. Late at night, our boy is finally back home. Though he's bruised and battered, his mind is racing. Looking at the clock in his VR gear, he knows he's lucky that the passing stranger intervened when he did. Still shaken, our boy discusses the incident with his friend. Meanwhile, the VR headset on the desk blinks with a steady red light, signaling that this quiet moment is just the calm before a much bigger storm. After seeing his guest out, our boy looks at the VR device and feels a wave of regret. He realizes how risky it was to let someone inside with his biggest secret just lying around. Putting on the headset, our boy is thrilled to find he's reached level 6. He unlocks a powerful new skill, the ability to preview and train for the worst thing that will happen tomorrow. Guided by his father's AI, our boy starts a 15-minute preview of the upcoming crisis. As the system glitches into life, a deadly threat begins to unfold in the virtual world. In the preview, our boy is walking through the alley near his house when a hooded man ambushes him with a knife. Despite his best efforts, the cold steel of the blade feels terrifyingly real. After witnessing his own gruesome fate, our boy wakes up in a cold sweat. He realizes this isn't just a game. His only chance at survival is to train like a demon before tomorrow comes. The next day at school, our boy is completely distracted, replaying the tragedy in his head. He tries to find a weakness in the killer's movements until someone suddenly interrupts his thoughts. Gong Xian shows up in class with the exact same VR device, proudly showing it off. This sets off alarm bells for our boy, who wonders if Xian secretly touched his stuff yesterday. Realizing Xian just wants to play online together tonight, our boy breathes a sigh of relief. But as he glances at the clock, he knows his real fight for survival is just hours away. Mine is broken, our boy admits, looking a bit awkward. The black-haired guy in the sharp, out-of-place suit simply offers to buy him a new one, his casual display of wealth leaving Sunwoo sighing. Confronted by this sudden generosity, Sunwoo hesitates. Why would a rich guy like you hang out with someone like me? He asks, gesturing as if to point out their different worlds. However, the guy in the suit answers with surprising candor. I haven't had any friends since I was a kid, he states plainly, standing stiffly as if sharing a simple fact. He takes a step closer, looking at Sunwoo earnestly. All I had around me were people who just wanted to use me. But when I saw you, you seemed similar to me. His words hit a little too close to home. Sunwoo coughs, quickly steering the conversation back on track. Anyway, I don't have the luxury to leisurely make friends right now, he says, cutting to the chase. Later, help me get into stocks. The suited guy cracks a confident grin and lays out a generous offer. I'll pass you some promising stocks. If you profit, we split it half and half. If you lose, I'll cover the losses. Faced with a deal that carries almost no risk, Sunwoo quickly agrees. Let's do that, he says, before pressing further. When will you tell me the picks? The other just smiles easily and says, let's get through today first, leaving the arrangement settled for now. Night falls. Coming off a shift at the convenience store, Sunwoo walks the cold streets. His mind is filled with desires for a better life, a home water filter, and a freedom from penny pinching. But the quiet night is violently interrupted. A menacing figure in black appears out of nowhere, throwing a brutal punch straight at Sunwoo's face. Faced with a lethal threat, Sunwoo's survival instinct kicks into overdrive. I don't want to die, he roars, scrambling up and gripping his sole weapon, a cheap purchase from the store. Seizing the moment of the attacker's surprise, Sunwoo hurls his makeshift weapon to the ground with all his might. The resulting impact explodes outward, knocking the masked assailant back. But the attacker isn't done. He pulls another knife from his bag. For me too, 1 + 1, Sunwoo retorts, holding up his last bottle, voice shaky but firm. No matter what, you can't kill me here. The tension ratchets back up. The knife-wielding figure looms over him, the steel blade glinting ominously. His voice is cold as ice as he issues an ultimatum. So speak honestly. Pushed to his absolute limit, Sunwoo explodes. Furious, he shakes his final weapon, unleashing a desperate, raging scream at the shadowy figure. Who are you? In a dimly lit alleyway, a man is sprawled on the ground, fearfully staring ahead while still defiantly insisting that he can't be killed here. Seeing his threats are useless, he angrily gets up, clutching a bottle of liquid tightly in his hand, shouting and demanding who the masked person in front of him really is. However, before he can react, the masked knife wielder launches another attack, forcing him to turn and sprint away in panic. As he flees, the man is filled with frustration, realizing that even in countless preview training sessions, he never succeeded in catching this guy once. Yet, even so, he has no intention of giving up. He grits his teeth and pushes off the ground with all his might, determined to fight until the very end. Just then, the mysterious masked man seems to receive an order through his earpiece. He immediately stops his pursuit and instead turns around, walking back toward his target. Seeing the enemy not fleeing but instead closing in with murderous intent, the brown-haired man's pupils shrink in alarm. Warning bells scream in his mind. The chase instantly reverses. The masked man suddenly accelerates, delivering a powerful kick square into the man's chest. The tremendous force sends him flying backward. Immediately after, the man finds a knife pressed against his throat, the cold blade aimed right at his vitals. He desperately grabs the blade with both hands, but it's completely immovable. At this critical life-or-death moment, a sharp shout pierces the alleyway. Police! Drop the knife! Officer Shinji arrives just in time, holding up her identification. Hearing this, the masked assassin turns and flees without hesitation. Yiji gives a stern warning, while immediately giving chase. With the immediate crisis over, a shaken Sunwoo sits on a rooftop with Yiji. He clenches his trembling fist, his face a mask of lingering fear and deep confusion. He tells Yiji that the killer's actions at the final moment completely deviated from all the countless futures he witnessed in his preview training. Late at night, Sister Shin Yiji suddenly visits. She brings up tracking down the culprit via CCTV, while insisting on giving our boy living expenses despite his protests. Faced with an agitated Sunwoo, she can only patiently urge him to trust her, escalating their argument. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a terrifying memory. A masked assailant with a knife appears, launching a deadly attack on our boy. Completely caught off guard, Sunwoo can only watch as the blade descends, his mind spiraling into chaos. In this desperate situation, our boy seems to recall something. He first notices a folded knife, then remembers Sister Yiji showing him a stun gun for self-defense. This crucial memory fragment gives Sunwoo a glimmer of hope to fight back. The scene shifts again, returning to Sister Yiji's visit. She finally leaves, still filled with worry, repeatedly urging Sunwoo to lock his door and get some rest. At 11:59 p.m., time itself seemed to pause for her concern. As night deepens, our restless boy finally puts on his VR device. He's determined to thoroughly review the knife attack he faced today, intent on identifying the mysterious assailant. In VR, our boy meticulously observes the assailant's details. He notices the wireless earphones, which might explain why the attacker suddenly stopped and turned back. Even more crucially, Sunwoo spots a lightning-shaped tattoo on the attacker's ankle. Even after repeatedly reviewing the scene, the lightning tattoo seems to be the assailant's only distinctive feature. With so few clues, finding the true culprit will be an immense challenge for our boy. Despite limited clues, our boy decides to set that aside for now, using the VR device to preview potential dangers tomorrow. He starts by checking his school classroom, hoping for an uneventful day. Finding nothing unusual in class, Sunwoo uses his VR ability to predict tomorrow's stock market, successfully memorizing the top 3 rising stocks. He then immediately contacts Gongseon to discuss their collaboration for tomorrow. At 7 a.m., our boy is already checking his memo with today's stock plans. Samsan Bio, Popo Pharma, and Jan's Lithium are the targets he's identified for the day. On the other side of the classroom is Gongseon, the classmate who handed our guy his business card earlier. He's confirming the trading plan. Buy as soon as the market opens, sell around 3 p.m., and split the profit. Gongseon reveals he can invest around 100 million won. The sheer amount stuns our guy, and even Gongseon looks nervous, his forehead beaded with sweat over such a significant sum. Our boy finally suggests they start smaller, with a 10 million won trial run. Gongseon agrees, acknowledging this transaction somehow feels like borrowing money from a friend. Time jumps to 4 p.m., and the results are in. Gongseon stares at his phone, his face a picture of utter disbelief. Incredible! He immediately finds our boy and excitedly reports he sold everything and made a 3 million won profit. The method actually worked. Gongseon eagerly asks how he knew this would happen. Our boy brushes it off as stock research, but Gongseon is more preoccupied with the thought of the 30 million they could have made with the full amount, which he admits is a shame. Nonetheless, Gongseon keeps his promise and first hands over all the cash in his wallet 500,000 to our boy, promising to bring the rest tomorrow. Our boy accepts the money but warns the wealthy heir about the danger of carrying so much cash. Gongseon is momentarily taken aback, smiles with thanks, and eagerly asks if our guy can identify tomorrow's rising stocks too. That night, Sunwoo heads home with the earnings. The clock shows 10:40 p.m. Staring at the envelope and the stack of 50,000 won bills in his hand, an idea forms in his mind. He hands the brown envelope of money to Officer Shin Yiji, explaining it's to supplement the living expenses. Shin Yiji immediately becomes wary and asks point blank if he's planning something. Sunwoo urgently pleads with her to trust him just this once, swearing it's a sure win. But Shin Yiji warns him sternly of the immense risk in stock trading when 100 times, but one loss at the end can ruin everything. Our boy stares at the 50,000 won bill in his hand, a film of sweat on his forehead as he wrestles with a dilemma, to save this money or to spend it. Meanwhile, his father's VR device lies on the floor, its lights pulsing as if urging him to make up his mind. He ultimately puts the headset on. But as his consciousness links with the VR world, the system delivers a cold notification. Chun Sunwoo's rank has dropped from level 6 to level 5, leaving him utterly bewildered. Confronted with this downgrade, our guy can't help but vent his frustration. Just as he was finally enjoying a rare peaceful day, this new problem arises. The system then displays his sole available ability, to preview and train against the worst thing that will happen tomorrow. With little choice, he activates the skill for a preview. Instantly, his perspective shifts to a dark, chaotic construction site, and an urgent cry for help pierces the silence. Age! Save me! A man is tightly bound to a chair with green straps, a black plastic bag over his head. Someone roughly yanks the bag off, and as the man gasps in terror, his captor demands, "Who's there?" He can only stammer in reply, "I'm Geo Songbiaman." The vision continues. Several thug-like men surround the captive. Their leader places a hand on his shoulder and speaks with a menacing tone. "IT must be burdensome to carry around, right? How about sharing it with your youngs here?" Our boy immediately recognizes the school uniformed man at the center of this scene. Scared out of his wits, the bound student in the uniform completely loses control, screaming into the void, "You crazy bitch! Slash, did you kidnap me because you got beat up a little back then? Slash, woman was the one who beat you up. Slash, it wasn't me. In the vision, the kidnapper calmly retorts, do I look like I kidnapped you? And presses further. Then who else is here besides you? The bound man struggles desperately, his muffled pleas growing frantic. Wait, Slash, it's too tight. Slash, hurry up. As his air supply dwindles. But the next moment, the scene shifts abruptly. A foot slams savagely into the bound man's head with a sickening thud. Simultaneously, our boy's consciousness is violently jolted, staggering back as if the blow had landed directly on him. Snapped back to reality, our guy tears off the headset and slumps to his knees, gasping in pain and exertion. He can't contain his outrage. I saved him, Slash, and he is repaying my kindness with enmity? Through gritted teeth, he gives the system a new order. Start the preview training. A new round of preview training begins. The scene rewinds to the warehouse. The bound student, barely managing to ask, who are you? Slash, why are you doing T-Chai? Is brutally silenced by another vicious kick, a pained UGH, cut short. This time, the our boy, controlled within the vision, speaks with icy menace. If you don't want to get beaten to death, Slash, answer my questions clearly. The terrified student frantically agrees. His interrogator then demands, among the things you did today, Slash, is there. Utterly broken, the student immediately confesses to shaking down a junior for about $1,000,001 at school. The interrogator presses on. Which junior was it? Slash, was it Sion? Before the captive can offer a flimsy excuse, our boy decides it's time to calmly observe every detail of his reaction. Spurred by a vision of Sion being caught in organ trafficking, our boy immediately investigates in the real world, tracking down a crucial lead, the attacker with a lightning tattoo on his ankle. By cross-referencing his visions with events at school, our boy zeroes in on his target, the guy who targeted Sion and his cash at the internet cafe a few days ago, a senior named Gu Songbyum. Soon, Songbyum and his crew confront Sion directly in the classroom, demanding that he compensate them for their supposed loss. Using the internet cafe incident as their excuse, they force Sion to hand over his wallet, threatening to take half its contents every single day from now on. Faced with an overwhelming power imbalance and intimidation, Sion has no choice but to comply. The ringleader, Songbyum, even pretends to offer him protection afterward. All of this is witnessed by our boy Sunwoo, who has arrived silently. He takes careful note of the distinct lightning tattoo on Songbyum's ankle. Sunwoo instantly connects the dots, confirming his earlier suspicions. The hired killer who attacked him with a knife that rainy night was this school bully, Gu Songbyum. Meanwhile, a drunken Gu Songbyum is making a phone call in a secluded alley, completely unaware that our boy has already followed the trail and is now closing in right behind him. Under the cover of night, our boy, masked and hooded, stands over his fallen attacker in a quiet alley. He knows he's being hunted, and to get answers, he needs to move this guy to a secure spot before anyone notices. Soon, our boy has the captive tied up at a desolate construction site. Acting as a cold interrogator, he's tried everything to find out who ordered the hit, but the man remains stubbornly silent. Losing patience, our boy gets rougher with the interrogation. Despite the man's bloodied face and desperate pleas for mercy, our boy knows he can't stop until he breaks the guy and gets the truth. Just as things hit a stalemate, our boy spots a crucial detail. He pulls back the man's pant leg to reveal a distinct lightning tattoo on his ankle, a clear sign that this guy belongs to a specific organization. Before he can press further about the tattoo, our boy's phone starts buzzing. It's a call from his friend, Sion. Sensing something is wrong, he quickly gags his captive to keep the scene quiet while he answers. The voice on the line isn't Sion's usual self, but a terrified scream for help. Sion reveals he was snatched from his home and is being held somewhere. Hearing this, our boy's calm mask shatters into pure fury. Realizing the enemies are playing dirty, our boy flips the script. He coldly informs the kidnappers that he has their man, and he's ready to use him as leverage. He sets a grim ultimatum. A trade must be made by tomorrow, or else. Just as our boy was about to take a bathroom break, an emergency warning from the VR device flashed in his mind, showing the interior of an unfamiliar two-story building and a shocking red letter O, instantly putting him on high alert. The vision flashes back to the same building in daylight, and from a darkened interior perspective, two bound men can be seen, confirming that a kidnapping is unfolding there. Inside, the situation is tense. A gagged man, with a bloodied face, struggles in pain, while his captors casually complain he's too loud and discuss putting more tape on his mouth. Focus shifts to one of the kidnappers, who looks uneasy. He glances at a dark mark on his foot and voices his doubts to his accomplice Woongmin, wondering if they've gone too far this time. The story flashes back a few days earlier, showing the start of the conflict. A black-haired man, his eyes blazing with fury, viciously kicks another man, demonstrating his violent dominance. A close-up shows the enraged man's face, contorted as he screams, "I'll kill you!" fully revealing his brutal nature and murderous intent. The flashback continues in an opulent room. The murderous man sits on a couch, conversing with another, seemingly higher-ranking figure who wears a ruby ring. Under questioning and command, the black-haired man reveals he's been given a mysterious order from above to target someone specifically, his mentioned school junior, Cheon Sunwoo. The mission given, the superior figure hands him a set of wireless earbuds, ordering with an implied threat that he must keep them on at all times. Back in the present, looking at the wireless earbuds, the kidnapper recalls his failed attempt to kill our boy days ago. The strange details begin to truly frighten him. Wearing the earpiece, he's racked with anxiety and confusion, unable to fathom who's behind this, or why he's been set up to lure Cheon Sunwoo to this kidnapping. Meanwhile, one of the captives weakly calls for help. Taking advantage of a moment, his partially freed accomplice makes a desperate dash into the rainy night, screaming for assistance. Confronting the stranger who has Gongxian tied up, our boy angrily demands to know if he's the culprit from before. The man, terrified, claims he knows the location of the runaway gang Kim Woongmin is part of, and is willing to spill everything. Meanwhile, at the hideout, the runaway gang members are lazily waiting for their ordered late-night snack. One of them is particularly irritable from being tired and hungry. The doorbell rings, and the one who opens it is surprised that the delivery is so fast. However, the delivery guy, outside, wearing a white helmet, coldly repeats the taunting invitation they had sent out earlier. A powerful surge of electricity erupts, instantly knocking the brown-haired gangster who opened the door to the floor with a pained scream. The raider charges into the room without hesitation, swiftly overpowering the other two gangsters with overwhelming force and turning the hideout into chaos. When our boy finally arrives at the scene, he sees Gongxian tied up and bloodied, while the attacker turns around in anger, ready to handle the next target. Witnessing the attacker's terrifying ability to foresee and counter all their moves firsthand, the last remaining gangster falls into complete despair and fear, letting out a cry of defeat. But the mysterious attacker doesn't stop. After taking down the others, he now sets his sights on a terrified Kim Woongmin. Our boy immediately shouts, trying to intervene and tell Woongmin to get out of the way. Our boy desperately chases after the mysterious attacker who is fleeing the scene. The vision he saw shows the worst possible outcome. Kim Woongmin will die right in front of him today. Just then, a frantic voice comes through the headset of his VR helmet, warning him, "Don't go there. If you do, you'll die." This sudden message causes our boy to hesitate for a crucial moment in his pursuit. Gasping for breath, our boy comes to a stop and questions the voice in disbelief, demanding to know who it is and how they could possibly know what will happen. Our boy used his premonition to expose Kim Woongmin's secrets, even bringing up his past knife attack. Kim Woongmin was terrified and sweating, unable to fathom how our boy knew everything. Our boy knew his preview training had reached its limit, unsure what would happen next. To calm Kim Woongmin, he brought up past incidents like the stabbing and Sion's kidnapping, offering not to report them, hoping to de-escalate. Kim Woongmin, however, was agitated and cursing, clearly terrified of retaliation from his young. Our boy sees the chance, revealing his abilities and offering help if Kim Woongmin would just tell him the truth, promising not to let him face it alone. Our boy noticed the wireless earphone on Kim Woongmin's ear, sensing something was wrong. He immediately reached out, demanding it, but Kim Woongmin instinctively recoiled. Before Kim Woongmin could decide, a piercing bang echoed from the earphone. He screamed, "Please save me!" in terror as his body was instantly engulfed in a bloody mist, brutally killed by the earphone bomb. After witnessing Kim Woongmin's horrific death, our boy, despite a band-aid on his face and lingering injuries, was barely holding on. His companion, Sion, seeing his state, concernedly asked if he was alright and offered for him to stay at his place. Sion reiterated his offer, suggesting our boy move and instead of staying alone in his small rooftop room. Our boy pondered it for a moment, saying he'd consider. Just then, Officer Shin Yiji rushed to the scene. Shin Yiji, with tears and sweat on her face, delivered the devastating news in a trembling voice. Kim Woong-min hadn't survived emergency surgery and had passed away. Hearing the news, Shin Yi-ji pondered in distress, crossing her arms, unable to comprehend what kind of earphone could cause such a death. Our boy, covering his face, was overwhelmed with grief and self-reproach. Despite everything, a subtle, almost imperceptible calm settled on our boy's face. He and Shin Yi-ji watched as Sion's vehicle drove away, leaving a heavy atmosphere behind. Inside the departing car, Sion was respectfully addressed as "young master" by a woman in a suit. He rolled down the window, waved goodbye to our boy and Shin Yi-ji, wishing them well, before the car sped away. As our boy was about to leave after the investigation, Officer Shin Yi-ji stopped him with a serious expression. It turns out he's now a suspect in Kim Woong-min's murder, so Yi-ji has decided to temporarily shelter him at her place for protection. Our boy immediately refused, finding it awkward to stay at a single female officer's house. Yi-ji, however, scoffed, retorting, "Do you even consider me a woman?" The contrast is quite amusing. In the end, our boy was escorted home by Shin Yi-ji. The moment he stepped inside, he was stunned. This wasn't a house. It was practically a gym, complete with punching bags and exercise bikes. Shin Yi-ji showed him to an empty room, warning him never to enter her bedroom. Though reluctant, our boy knew staying at a police officer's place was indeed safer. He then opened the mysterious other eye device his father left him. Just as he was about to operate the device, his father's consciousness suddenly appeared from the VR headset, giving our boy a huge fright and almost making him drop it. Our boy turned to ask Shin Yi-ji, who was busy working out, if she heard anything, but she was completely absorbed in her training. Relieved, he put on the VR headset, ready to enter the virtual world. Upon entering the virtual world, a notification popped up. Our boy had unexpectedly leveled up twice, reaching level 7. He also unlocked a new skill 10-second enhanced hearing. At first, our boy thought the skill was useless, but then something clicked. He immediately recalled his conversation with Kim Woong-min yesterday and decided to replay it. Our boy rewound time to the moment Kim Woong-min suddenly touched his ear, focusing his enhanced hearing skill to amplify the voice transmitted through the earphones. As the sound from the earphones was amplified, a chilling voice echoed, "This is your last warning. Turn around and run away. If you don't listen, I will kill you." After the 10 seconds of enhanced hearing passed, our boy realized the truth. Kim Woong-min's earphones hadn't exploded by accident, but were remotely detonated by a mastermind. This revealed a more powerful entity, one who knew about his preview ability and could control events. Through the VR's precognition, our boy witnesses a vision of the worst possible future. The cold sweat on his face suggests something terrible is coming. In the horrific vision, Yeji is stabbed and collapses in a pool of blood. No matter how desperately our boy screams her name, he remains helpless. As our boy reels from the shock, reality sets in. Yeji is calmly making red juice. The resemblance to the blood in his vision is chilling. Paralyzed by anxiety, our boy begs Yeji to wear a bulletproof vest. To him, the red juice looks exactly like the blood from his premonition. Thinking he's just traumatized from past events, Yeji comforts him with a pat on the head, unaware he's already installed a location tracker on their phones. At school, with less than 2 hours left until the predicted tragedy, our boy frantically sketches the vision's details to identify the location. Just then, Sion recognizes the layout as a high-end room salon. With the location identified, our boy races against time to change Yeji's fate. Back in class, our boy is feeling the pressure. He realizes their new bodyguard is actually the same powerhouse who saved them from bullies before. But even with a top-tier fighter on their side, he can't shake this growing sense of dread. Knowing he can't do this alone, our boy tells Sion it's a life-or-death situation and begs for help. The scene then shifts to a high-end building called High Heaven, where the real trouble is brewing. Meanwhile, Officer Shin has already tracked the leads to a private club. Facing a mob boss who's calmly puffing on a pipe, she gets straight to the point, asking him about the recently deceased Kim Woong-min. The suspect tries to play dumb, but Shin drops a bombshell, a recovered voice recording from Woong-min's phone. As the evidence plays out loud, the boss's smug look vanishes, and the tension in the room hits a breaking point. Realizing he's cornered, the criminal snaps and lunges with a hidden knife. Luckily, Shin's reflexes are razor sharp. She dodges the strike and slams him into the floor before he can even blink. The once arrogant boss is now reduced to groveling on the floor in pain. Shin isn't falling for his whining. She pins him down, telling him they'll have a long talk at the station about that lethal mini-bomb. Although the suspect is down, Shin feels something isn't right. The look in the man's eyes suggests he's hiding something much bigger, and the real puppet master is likely still lurking in the shadows. Desperate to save Yiji, our boy rushes to the scene. However, the arrogant blonde receptionist refuses to open the door, smugly telling him to leave while he still can. Losing his temper, the receptionist snaps and throws a heavy punch at our boy. He clearly thinks he can just bully his way out of the situation. As our boy gets pinned down and desperately calls out for Yiji, the ultimate reinforcement finally arrives. Yongo steps onto the scene, radiating pure intimidation. Yongo walks up with cold indifference. When the receptionist tries to act tough, Yongo delivers a single, devastating blow that sends the man flying across the room. Yongo's presence is overwhelming as he issues a final warning: open the door, or he'll break it down himself. The receptionist is left bloody and broken, unable to resist. Yongo drags the defeated man up by his hair, demanding to know where Yiji is. Facing such raw power, the man finally cracks and points toward room 6. Our boy bursts into the room, but the sight inside shatters him. He finds Yiji bleeding out from a stab wound, and a wave of pure rage and guilt washes over him. Watching Yiji struggle in pain, our boy is on the verge of losing his mind. Beside him, Yongo's gaze turns ice cold as he looks for the culprit responsible. In a luxurious hall, a group of black-suited men with metal rods are shouting at the door, clearly agitated by an unwelcome intrusion. Just as our boy was about to react, a strong hand landed on his shoulder. Kong Sion's bodyguard, Yongo, calmly stated he'd handle it, his eyes steady behind his sunglasses, then charged forward. Yongo's speed was astonishing. In an instant, he swiftly took down the first few thugs with precise, powerful strikes, without a single wasted movement. Our boy visits the hospital to check on the injured officer Yiji. Despite her condition, she's more frustrated about the suspect escaping than her own pain. Feeling responsible for her injuries, our boy lowers his head in apology. However, Yiji grows suspicious, asking how he knew to insist on her wearing a bulletproof vest. Avoiding the question, our boy tells her to rest well and heads out. As night falls, the heavy atmosphere suggests that the danger is far from over. Back at home, the mysterious VR device begins to glow and vibrate, demanding to be used. Our boy stares at it, clearly torn by the overwhelming pressure it exerts. With a cry of frustration, our boy collapses under the device's intensity. He's starting to believe that using this power is what draws misfortune to those he cares about. In a fit of rage, our boy grabs a weight, ready to smash the cursed device. He's desperate to stop the cycle of misfortune, but destiny isn't so easily broken. Later that night, our boy finds himself in Sion's car. Sion reveals that his influential father is now aware of the incident, adding a new layer of complexity. Sion asks point blank if our boy has psychic powers or can see the future. Though internally shaken, our boy keeps his cool and laughs it off to protect his secret. While the gears of a secret plot begin to turn, a man casually walks away from his car. He tells someone over the phone to stop worrying and just let the police handle the mess. Meanwhile, at a dim industrial dock, Detective Gu finally corners Jo Kyun-sang. Caught off guard, Joe quickly raises his hands, desperately claiming he only meant to threaten Shin Yeji and never actually stabbed her. Sweating profusely, Jo Kyun-sang argues that even criminals like them wouldn't dare stab a cop. Under the detective's intense pressure, he finally cracks and offers to confess everything just to stay alive. As Shin Yeji listens grimly, our boy is left in shock by what follows. Jo Kyun-sang admits to the murder of Woong Min and reveals a bombshell. Someone high up ordered him to have Woong Min assassinate our boy. Looking terrified, Jo Kyun-sang realizes he's caught in a deadly vortex. He trembles as he reveals the order came from someone so powerful he couldn't refuse, and if he doesn't talk now, he might not survive the night. But just as he's about to reveal the key name, a gunshot shatters the silence. Jo Kyun-sang collapses in a pool of blood instantly. The hidden assassin coldly puts away the gun and reports that the tail has been cut. After witnessing the horror, our boy completely snaps back at home. Glaring at the VR device, he feels that all this misfortune stems from this cursed machine. It didn't bring him hope, but an endless nightmare. Fueled by rage, our boy raises a dumbbell, wanting to smash the device that lured him into this chaos. He screams for it all to stop. But as the anger fades in the empty room, he knows the real storm is only just beginning. Last night, our boy ultimately couldn't bring himself to use, let alone destroy, the VR device his father left behind. The next morning, walking down the street, He was almost run over by a speeding orange motorcycle because he was lost in thought. He ended up sitting on the ground, still in shock. At school, he told his classmates about the harrowing incident, trying to console himself with the thought that the worst was probably over for the day. But right then, a stray soccer ball flew in and smashed into his face, drawing blood instantly. Back in the classroom, his condition caught Sion's attention. Concerned, Sion asked him what was really going on and why he'd been completely silent. Before Sunwoo could answer, a piercing fire alarm suddenly blared through the school. Amid the confusion, he gritted his teeth, a sense of foreboding washing over him. An announcement clarified it was a system malfunction and urged everyone to stay calm. But when Sion turned around, he realized Sunwoo had disappeared amid the chaos. It turned out Sunwoo had slipped under the desk. Sweating profusely, he desperately turned to Sion, the only friend he could trust, for help. So Sion drove them away from school. In the car, Sunwoo, with a trembling hand, called Officer Yeji, lying that he felt unwell and needed to go home. He rambled to Sion about his panic and unease, his words laced with a hint of bewilderment and bitterness towards his friend's sheltered, privileged life. Their car drove into the distance, while the city sky above was bathed in the unsettling glow of dusk. Sion's car drops our boy off at his apartment. After thanking his friend and confirming they'll meet at school tomorrow, Sunwoo stands alone outside his building. Back home, the tension from the day melts away, replaced by a sharp pang of hunger. Standing at the stove, Sunwoo watches the water in the pot bubble and boil. A paranoid thought about a gas explosion crosses his mind briefly, but his growling stomach wins out. Tearing open a pack of dry ramen, he starts eating it right out of the bag. After the quick meal, exhaustion takes over completely. Kneeling by the bed, he's desperate for sleep. But the moment his eyes close, a memory or a vision from a rainy night years ago floods his senses. In a downpour, several men in dark suits surround Sunwoo's father, Cheon Woo-hwan. They aggressively demand to know where the evidence his wife left behind is hidden. Unconvinced by his denials, one of the enforcers violently kicks him. The men scoff, refusing to believe that the legendary detective, Myung Jae-hyun, left no evidence. Under the relentless beating, a weakened Woo-hwan finally breaks. The leader hands him a phone and cruelly mentions Sunwoo, who is only 5 years old, using his son's safety as the ultimate leverage. Sunwoo jolts awake from the bed with a terrified scream. The nightmare felt far too vivid to be just a dream. Could it have been a real memory of his father's beating from when he was 5 years old? Shaken and covered in cold sweat, he sits stunned. Then, the familiar guiding voice from the VR device echoes in his mind once more, urging him to put it on. The scene reveals our boy's current situation. He's in a room talking with a brown-haired classmate. The classmate, having followed our guy's instructions, just made 3 million won in the stock market. He's excited but baffled, pressing for an explanation on how the prediction was made. Under questioning, our guy nervously explains that he's just been studying stocks. Watching his friend's joy, bigger ambitions stir within him. As he wipes away sweat, a new thought takes hold. What if they had invested a much, much larger sum? Let's become rich. The thought crystallizes. In our boy's mind, wealth is the solution to everything. His cop friend wouldn't need a dangerous job. He himself could even have a personal bodyguard like Yongo. To seize this massive opportunity, our boy dons his VR gear and invokes the preview function. Hoping for a quiet day, he commands the AI based on his father. Show me the worst thing that could happen before the stock market closes tomorrow. The preview kicks in. His plan, powered by his training ability, is straightforward. He just needs to observe and memorize tomorrow's rising stocks from his detached, virtual vantage point. The day of the preview arrives. In the classroom, our boy goes straight to Sion. He confirms with his wealthy friend the earlier offer. Can he really invest 100 million won? Sion's resources run even deeper. He can put up 150 million. Suppressing his excitement, our boy immediately texts him the exact stock codes he saw surge, based on the future he witnessed. Trusting our boy completely, Sion spreads the investment as instructed. Seeing the buy orders confirmed, relief washes over our guy, and a grin breaks through. If the prediction holds, his share of today's earnings alone will exceed 20 million won. During lunch, Sion finds our boy sitting alone on a bench, staring at his phone with no appetite in sight. He explains that of the 3 stocks he recommended, 2 are about to yield a 30% return, but the third remains stagnant. This pattern reminds him of his past experiences. When his visions don't pan out, it often means someone like Master, who knows about his abilities and far surpasses him, is interfering behind the scenes. Considering Master might even manipulate stocks confirmed for high returns, our boy gets a sinking feeling and urgently asks Sion to sell all 3 stocks. Though confused, Sion complies. Seeing the profits roll in, he's in high spirits and extends an invitation for dinner at his house that evening. Arriving at Sion's home that night, our boy is immediately stunned by the sight: an opulent mansion, a professional butler, and a lavish dinner comparable to a top-tier restaurant. The butler presents a thick stack of cash, Sion's share of the day's profits, which he's paying in advance out of sheer good mood. However, Sion then shifts the conversation, asking pointedly, "Even the best experts struggle to make such profits in a day. And about you helping Officer Shin last time. You have some special ability, don't you?" Facing the unexpected question, our boy grows tense. Meanwhile, Sion calmly cuts into his food and adds, "No need to hide it. My father is quite interested in people with such special abilities." While our boy and Sion are having dinner in the kitchen, Sion suddenly brings up his abilities. As Sion uses that such power might help him surpass his own father, our boy eats his food thoughtfully, a cold sweat on his brow as he replies. Our boy asks why Sion wants to surpass his father. Sion simply puts a piece of meat in his mouth, calling it his lifelong wish in a detached tone. Suddenly, Sion's expression contorts violently as he breaks into a fit of choking coughs. A horrifying image flashes in our boy's mind. He sees Yongo in a suit coughing up blood. In reality, right before his eyes, Sion himself is coughing up bloody froth. Everyone present is stunned by this sudden, terrifying turn of events. Immediately after, another uninvited guest arrives. A smiling, mustachioed middle-aged man walks right into the kitchen, ignoring Yongo's attempts to block him. This man is Lee Mokpyo, president of a construction company and a former high-ranking gangster. Lee Mokpyo introduces himself as the junior of Sion's father. Putting on a friendly, almost avuncular air, he tells our boy, this growing kid, to keep eating, and cheerfully introduces himself. Confronted with this unsettling smile, our boy has no time for pleasantries. He sharply asks if this is the first time Sion has coughed blood, and what illness he has. Lee dismisses the question, claiming ignorance of the details, and instead begins making pointed, veiled threats toward our boy. Leaning forward and placing his hands on the table, he stares down at our boy, saying that if someone just obediently follows orders, nobody will pay them any mind. At a restaurant, a mustached man in a light suit holds up a fork and warns our boy. He says that to survive, they must keep taking out their opponents, which will eventually cause the entire structure of their rival organization to collapse. At that moment, the suited man's hand suddenly lands on our boy's shoulder. Though he's smiling, his words carry a clear warning. He asks Sunwoo to convey a message to someone. Before touching anyone else's food bowl, they better give a heads up first. Looking down at Sunwoo from above, the suited man delivers a casual-sounding farewell. "Eat well, and grow up quickly, kid." With that, he leaves. Looking out from the hospital window, we see the brightly lit city at night. This is Gulchin University Hospital. In the hospital room, Officer Yi-ji, wearing a patient gown, asks the suited man, with a serious expression, why would the chairman of Gold Construction, a former national gang executive, have any business with Sion's father? Yi-ji further explains to the others present that Lee Mokpyo was a national gang executive about 10 years ago, and now he's laundered his identity to act like a legitimate businessman. The fact that such a dangerous person paid a personal visit makes everyone realize the gravity of the situation. Sion, sitting on the bed, admits he's not sure about the specifics of his father's relationship with the man, but they didn't seem to get along well. The conversation grows heavier, and Sunwoo listens in silence, his expression becoming more and more serious. Yi-ji looks sternly at Sunwoo, almost ordering him to maintain distance. Since the man is associated with such a dangerous figure, it's best not to get too close to Sion. Even she, as a police officer, can't easily handle matters at that level, so don't get involved in dangerous things. Back home, Sunwoo sits at his desk, deep in thought as he looks at his father's VR device. He knows Yi-ji's warning is right, it is dangerous. Yet at this moment, he recalls what his friend Sion once said. Sunwoo recalls Sion's words. His father has always been interested in people with abilities, like foreseeing the future. If one could predict everything that'll happen, there'd be nothing to fear in the world. Those words take root in Sunwoo's mind. The shot cuts to the large sum of cash Sunwoo earned from stocks, and the VR device beside it. Just like Sion said, if I could become such a person, there'd be nothing to fear in the world. With that thought, Sunwoo's gaze hardens, and he decides to put on the VR headset. Sunwoo puts on the VR headset, determined to see it through. A system prompt sounds. Preview of the worst thing that will happen tomorrow. The next moment, strong visual effects flood his vision, and his consciousness is instantly pulled away. When Sunwoo regains his awareness, he finds himself in a dimly lit, unfamiliar corridor filled with pipes and exposed wires. Where is this? He wonders. As he tries to make sense of his surroundings, a shirtless man with a dragon tattoo appears before him. The tattooed man offers a dangerous game with a strange smile on his face. If Sunwoo can punch him in the nose just once, Sunwoo wins. But Sunwoo is immediately on guard and fires back. Why should I hit someone I don't know? However, the tattooed man gives Sunwoo no chance to refuse. Before the words are even finished, he launches a lightning-fast attack. Sunwoo has no time to react. He's slammed back by the powerful blow and lets out a painful groan. Watching Sunwoo writhe in pain, the tattooed man coldly unzips a bag and delivers an ultimatum. You have to hit me. If you don't, his gaze turns murderous in an instant. I'll kill you. A mysterious man, covered in dragon tattoos, smiles menacingly at our boy, pointing to a huge stack of cash. He lays out an absurd challenge. If you win, I'll give you 300 million won right away. Come on, punch me in the nose. Before our boy could even react, he was sent flying by a brutal punch, slamming hard against the wall. The man's cold voice delivered the ultimatum. You have to. If you don't, I'll kill you. The agonizing pain quickly made our boy realize this was no game. As he gasped for air, the image of the massive cash prize flashed in his mind, but each blow felt like a wild beast's attack, leaving him utterly bewildered by his formidable opponent. Confronted by this monstrous adversary, our boy desperately tried to devise a plan report to the police or ask Sion for help. Just as he hesitated, a mysterious call interrupted him. Hello. I'll send you an address. Make sure to be there by 6 p.m. tomorrow. The mysterious tattooed man makes his intentions brutally clear the moment they meet, then instantly throws a punch at our guy, who's positioned at the bottom of the stairs. A swift, powerful high kick follows. Their clash is a blur of motion, and our boy is completely overwhelmed, crashing to the ground in an instant. The tattooed man's next attack is a supersonic diving punch, crashing down on the prone protagonist with terrifying force, making the very space seem to shudder. Our boy is utterly battered by the relentless assault. He lies sprawled on the cold floor, blood at his lips, dazed and unable to move. But it's not over. His opponent casually produces a gleaming axe, raising it high with chilling finality, ready to end this one-sided slaughter. With the axe blade aimed at our boy's head, the tattooed man scorns him for being so disappointing a supposed foreseer who couldn't even last 10 seconds. He then lays down the rules. Starting today, they'll meet at this time daily. If our boy can't last longer than the previous day, he'll be killed on the spot. It's a life-or-death training regimen. On the second day, training resumes. Learning from yesterday's beating, our boy doesn't just wait. He takes the initiative, tackling the tattooed man to the ground. He even learns to weave and dodge effectively, earning a grudging compliment from his coach. However, mere evasion isn't enough to win. The tattooed man taunts him, pointing out that if he keeps dodging, he'll never even get close enough to touch his nose. Harsh reality sets in instantly. The man effortlessly reverses the assault, pinning down our boy's attack with one hand and brutally grabbing his head with the other. The battle ends, once again, with our boy's utter defeat. He lies exhausted on the ground while his opponent stands over him, axe in hand. The only improvement is that he lasted a tiny bit longer than yesterday. Our boy is in rough shape, pinned to the ground by this tattooed beast. The guy even mocks him for trying to wear a protective vest and leaves with a chilling warning. Show up tomorrow, or else. Back home, there's no time for rest. Despite the VR system's warnings about physical strain, our boy pushes through the pain, knowing that every second of training is a battle for survival. With his life on the line, he has to be stronger by tomorrow. Our boy's eyes are full of resolve as he throws punch after punch in the simulation, treating every strike like his last chance at life. At school, everyone notices our boy acting strange. He's spending every single break pushing his body to the limit on the field, leaving his classmates wondering what on earth has gotten into him lately. Seeing his friend's desperation, Sion steps in with an offer. He suggests moving the workout to his private gym, where a professional bodyguard can provide training far beyond what a school field can offer. They arrive at a top-tier boxing gym. Facing the intimidating bodyguard Yongo, our boy pushes through his exhaustion to complete the warm-up, knowing he needs professional help to survive his next encounter. Our boy gets straight to the point. He has to beat a monster of an opponent. The only way to win is to land one solid hit on the guy's nose. Seeing that look in his eyes, Yongo realizes this is no ordinary request. Our boy seeks out Sion's mysterious, sunglass-wearing bodyguard Yongo. He explains he has to face a very strong opponent, and the only win condition is to land a single punch on the guy's nose. To learn how to land that one winning blow, he sincerely asks Yongo to teach him. Yongo doesn't immediately teach a technique. Instead, he leads him to a shelf full of trophies and medals. He then hands our guy a jump rope, stating the first lesson is basic stamina training. When asked how long, Yongo's answer stuns him, until he can't jump even once more. Our boy is hesitant, thinking he just needs to know how to punch. But Yongo sternly explains that if his opponent is strong enough to set such conditions, he won't just let himself be hit. The only chance to win is to quickly boost his stamina so his body can keep up. So the train begins with the jump rope. After exhausting himself, our boy drags his utterly sped body to face the tattooed and terrifying fighter, Byun Insu. Insu looks at his disheveled, near-collapsed state and questions how he can possibly fight like this. Our boy admits he overdid his training and can barely stand. Seeing that he doesn't seem to care about either his life or the huge prize money, Insu decides this isn't working. He suddenly changes tack, bringing up the female detective, Shin Yeji, who lives with our boy. A cruel smile spreads across Insu's face. He brings up Shin Yeji's stabbing and hospitalization, suggesting in a chilling tone that since she's bedridden, it would be easy for him to go and finish her off for good. Those words ignite a furious fire in our boy. Summoning every last ounce of his strength, he launches an enraged punch at this madman, threatening someone he cares deeply about. Our boy is being pinned down by the tattooed monster trainer, looking completely battered and pushed to his physical limit. Not only is he being crushed, but he's also faced with a deadly threat against Yeji's life. Seeing our boy's agony, the tattooed man doubles down. He demands that Sunwoo charge at him with pure killing intent and resolve, threatening to take Shin away if he fails to show that fire. Leaving behind a chilling "see you tomorrow," the trainer walks away. Our boy is left collapsed on the floor, gasping for air while a flicker of stubborn defiance begins to burn in his eyes. Determined to grow stronger, our boy puts on the VR headset for another round of grueling training. From shadowboxing at home to sprinting through dark streets, he's pushing his body to the absolute edge. The intensity ramps up as every jump and footstep is pushed for maximum precision. He's drenched in sweat, but the lingering threats from his enemies won't allow him a single second of rest. Reality and training blur together. Under Yongo's strict supervision, our boy grinds through heavy bench presses, each pained roar serving as a defiant declaration against his fate. Even with the trainer's mockery and the threat of the axe haunting him, our boy persists. He is determined to engrave every combat skill into his muscle memory before the next showdown. Though the preview system is reaching its limit, he screams in refusal to back down. He uses his last ounce of strength to shatter his own boundaries, knowing there's no turning back now. The intense training made the tattooed coach's veins bulge. Gritting his teeth, sweat drenched every inch of his skin as if he were challenging his own limits. Just then, an unexpected visitor arrived, Officer Shin Yeji. Smiling, she congratulated our boy, seemingly there to pick him up from his discharge. Sister Yeji was confused, complaining our boy hadn't visited or called in over a month. But then, she noticed how much taller he seemed, his shoulders broad and muscular. Sister Yeji was stunned, reaching out to touch our boy's head, wondering if he'd been secretly working out. Our boy, however, knew his physical strength had actually accumulated over 6 months, thanks to the VR device's replays and previews. Sister Yeji suggested they celebrate with pork ribs the next day, but our boy politely declined. He told her seriously that he had something very important to do today. It turned out our boy declined Sister Yeji's invitation precisely to resume the tattooed coach's brutal training. He took his stance and calmly said, "Let's start," while the coach, observing our boy's progress over the past month, revealed a slight, satisfied smile. With a playful edge in his voice, the tattooed coach warned our boy he wouldn't hold back today, even threatening to accidentally kill him. This was both an acknowledgement of our boy's strength and a provocative opening. In a tense, oppressive location, the shirtless, heavily tattooed man launches his assault on the man in the black tank top, locking him in a powerful chokehold from behind. The barrage of attacks just keeps coming. The tattooed man follows up with a heavy punch to the face, then immediately sweeps his opponent's ankle, sending him crashing to the ground. The tattooed man emerges from the room, now inexplicably holding an axe, ready to finish this one-sided beatdown. His opponent has also risen, and the two men face off once more in the dimly lit corridor. The tattooed man sneers, mocking his opponent's style as boring. But in that moment, the man in the black tank top seizes an opening, driving a powerful knee straight into his torso, the first blow that visibly rocks the tattooed man. The impact completely turns the tables, sending the tattooed man crashing to the floor. A look of shock and disbelief is plastered on his face. He clearly didn't expect his opponent to still have such power in reserve. Despite being knocked down, the tattooed man quickly regains his composure. Retrieving his axe, he looks down at his panting opponent in the corner and states coldly, "If you had connected properly, you'd be dead. Now get up." Our boy, Sun Woo, slumped on the ground, wipes blood from his mouth, his gaze sharp. He dismisses the idea that this is some kind of rap battle, and gets straight to the point with a direct question. Our guy analyzes the situation calmly, telling the tattooed man, "I know you've been training me. At first, I thought the master pulling the strings wanted me dead. But I quickly dismissed that," he continues, "because if he really wanted me dead, there have been plenty of chances. So the only remaining reason is that what you truly want is to enhance my abilities." As he speaks, Sun Woo's mind flashes back to about 2 months ago, to Kim Woong-min, the thug who, under someone's control, tried to stab him. That was a clear instance of his known future being forcibly altered. This leads him to his conclusion. Therefore, there must be someone with powers far greater than mine, pulling the strings behind the scenes. You, he states to the tattooed man, are either the master himself or acting under his orders, doing the same thing as Kim Woong-min. But you don't seem like the master to me, he adds. A being that powerful wouldn't get his hands dirty like this. The crucial point is, he seems to know that my ability grows tremendously when I face a damn fucking crisis. So he keeps creating fucking crisis situations for me. Sun Woo summarizes. Simply put, the master wants my abilities to grow. That's why, for this whole month, we've been doing all this goddamn nonsense here. But this ends today. Staring down the tattooed enforcer, our boy doesn't back down. With a stern expression, he declares that if a fight is unavoidable, he's determined to settle it right here, right now. Unfazed, the tattooed man simply tells him to wait, and pulls out a white wireless earpiece. The sight of it instantly triggers a memory. In our boy, it's identical to the device used to murder Kim Woong-min years ago. He desperately shouts for the man not to put it on. Ignoring the warning, the tattooed man mockingly remarks that our guy is still worried about him. As he puts on the earpiece, a mysterious voice from Providence instructs him it seems the one pulling the strings prefers to be called Master. Immediately, Master issues the final command through the earpiece. It's time for Cheon Sun Woo to awaken the eyes of self-awareness. Upon hearing this, the tattooed man hoists a shamanic two-long, spiked wooden staff onto his shoulder. Suddenly, a horrifying vision floods our boy's VR sight. Shin Yi-ji, held at gunpoint, crying for help in terror. At the same moment, the tattooed man raises his axe toward a portrait of the same woman on the wall. The tattooed man roars for Sun Woo to open his eyes, and launches a lethal axe strike. Realizing this is a real, deadly assault, our boy has no choice but to turn and run for his life. But in the next instant, the axe and spiked staff collide violently. Immediately after, our boy is brutally struck, blood spraying. The terror of imminent death washes over him. In the split second before the axe blade ends his life, Sun Woo realizes with shock that everything around him, even the droplets of blood suspended in midair, has frozen completely still. Within this frozen slice of time, a familiar yet strange voice speaks, offering him congratulations. Cheon Sun Woo has finally awakened the ultimate self-protection skill dash. The eyes of self-awareness. The godlike ability to slow down time itself. Our boy Sun Woo is stunned to discover he can vividly see his father inside his mind. Even without wearing his VR device, it seems their consciousness has forged a direct connection. The system then announces that, from now on, a function called Preview Hyperlink will automatically activate in any crisis he encounters, and his only available skill is now ready. Just as the terrifying tattooed fighter, Byun Insu, approaches from behind, Sun Woo's skill, Eye of Self-Consciousness, activates automatically at the last possible moment. His senses are instantly heightened to the extreme. Everything within a 5-meter radius becomes crystal clear, allowing him to observe and anticipate his attacker's every move in near real time. An axe whistles through the air, but in Sun Woo's world, time is stretched and slowed. Every single movement of his opponent appears sluggish, like frozen frames in his calm, purple-lit vision. He whispers, I don't know what this is, but I can see everything. This omniscient sense of control throws him completely into battle mode. Quickly filtering out distracting thoughts about a deepfake video, Sunwoo focuses all his mind on the enemy. Dodge! Strike! These commands flash through his consciousness in rapid succession. In his perception, the opponent's movements are laughably slow. Every cell in his body goes on high alert, precisely calculating each path for evasion and counterattack. Facing the descending axe, he reacts with astonishing speed, sidestepping the deadly blow and instantly landing a precise kick to his opponent's vulnerable spot. The enemy is sent flying back from the kick. In this state, only one thought remains in Sunwoo's mind: this feeling is the best, and he feels as if he fears nothing. At his absolute limit, our boy is desperately visualizing a counterattack against his terrifying tattooed coach in his mind, even believing he might actually have a shot at winning. However, this attempt to push past his limits seems to have flipped a switch, making him sense something profoundly strange within himself. A surge of inexplicable suspicion washes over him. Wait, what was that feeling just now? In the next instant, his supporting strength completely vanishes. He crashes to the ground, overwhelmed by intense dizziness and nausea, unable to move. Meanwhile, the tattooed coach opposite him drops respectfully to one knee. The coach reports to a mysterious figure named Sir Providence that our guy's eyes of self-awareness have awakened, confirming that what he witnessed earlier was indeed that legendary power. He then turns solemnly towards our dizzy and fallen protagonist and formally introduces himself. To those who have entered a godlike state, my name is Byun Insu. This sudden formality completely bewilders our boy, who can't help but question why he's introducing himself now of all times. However, the dizziness and pain prevent him from thinking too much, and blood trickles from the corner of his mouth from internal injuries. Seeing this, Byun Insu drags him to a dim indoor medical station, explaining the immense physical and endurance demands of the eyes of self-awareness, and their potential side effect of causing a loss of rationality. He secures the weak, bleeding protagonist to a metal bed and cuts open a black bag filled with cash. He then slowly pours the banknotes over our guy's body, declaring that if he cooperates well with the upcoming training, these 300 million won are just the beginning. He can gain much more in the future. Finally, while preparing a syringe, the coach smirks and warns our protagonist not to misunderstand. This is not a reward, but the cost invested to make him more resilient. Our boy regains consciousness after the brutal training session, only to find himself alone. His wounds have been stitched and his clothes replaced, and stacks of cash are scattered around him. He stares in disbelief at the real money, his mind racing with Master's words. This is just an advance, with a promise of future rewards. This only deepens Sunwoo's confusion. Why would someone with superior foresight go to such lengths to train him? He can't figure out if Master is an ally or an enemy, nor what his true goal is. He debates discussing this with the police officer, his friend Yeji Nuna, but is jolted out of his thoughts by a far more pressing concern. His scheduled VR training session is about to start. He frantically checks his phone, sees the late hour, and immediately calls Yeji Nuna, who is worried about his absence, quickly assuring her he's already on his way home. While making up an excuse about a game console alarm to keep Yeji from investigating any noise from his room, Sunwoo grabs the sack of cash and flees the underground training facility. The scene shifts to a high-end apartment. The mysterious man who calls himself Providence is reporting to someone he refers to as father. He relays father's orders. Sunwoo's abilities must be developed through practical experience, and theoretical training can be put on hold for now. He reassures him that the situation remains favorable, and he apologizes for being unable to assist more directly. After hanging up, he is approached by his attendant, Shani, with his medication. He turns down the medication with a smile, admitting that the feeling of being with Sunwoo, bringing out a more carefree side of him, is more enjoyable than being addressed by titles like Eye of Providence. Back with Sunwoo, he continues stuffing cash into his bag while urgently pleading with Yeji Nuna on the phone, insisting she shouldn't check on any noise coming from his room later on. Under the cover of night, a bespectacled man with brown hair in a gray hoodie is hurriedly making a phone call while dashing through a dimly lit corridor packed with pipes and wires. He had just received a call from his short-haired, dark-haired sister back home, who's sitting on the couch and questioning him with suspicion about the strange noises coming from his room. Sweating profusely and panting, he stands in the living room, vehemently denying any unusual sounds while tightly clutching a mysterious black bag. However, his sister points out the obvious, suspecting he's watching something inappropriate alone in his locked room every night. This accusation flusters the brown-haired guy, making him blush furiously, as he desperately tries to defend himself. After enduring his sister's teasing advice to keep it moderate, the awkward conversation finally ends, allowing him to retreat back to his own room. Back in his room, he immediately sits at his computer, holding the black and white brown VR headset, puzzled as to why it won't turn on this time. Meanwhile, over at the police headquarters, Officer Shinji is fervently requesting her superior, a man in a blue uniform, to hand over the Kim Woo-min murder and the gangster Jo Kyun-sang cases to her. Her request is swiftly denied. Her superior reminds her that the cases have already been transferred to another district, and questions why she's so fixated on an investigation that once left her injured. An agitated Shinji counters, arguing that the other district is incompetent, failing to even catch a local thug, and insists that she must pursue the investigation herself. At that moment, a man's voice interrupts from the office entrance. It's Detective Gu Sung-taek, the officer who oversaw the Jo Kyun-sang case, speaking in a low tone as he acknowledges his own incompetence. Taking the opportunity, the superior introduces Gu Sung-taek and announces that from now on, Shinji will be partnered with him to work on unsolved cases. With that, the dusty case file for the Dulcheon neighborhood serial killer case is tossed onto their desk. The police investigation revealed that the only common factor among the serially murdered teenagers was their access to an illegal gambling site that lured users with free webtoons or OTT services. Detective Shinji, sweat beading on her brow, reported the case with unusual focus. She insisted they must pursue it fully, deciding to stay up all night from that day forward until the culprit was caught. Meanwhile, our boy realized his most crucial tool, the VR device, had stopped working ever since he was able to use the eyes of self-awareness, leaving him unable to preview the next day's stock market. As he was lamenting the lost money-making opportunity, a call from a blocked number suddenly came in. It was from his brutal combat trainer, Byun Insu. Byun Insu directly told him to bring gloves and a shovel to their last fight location and dig something up to earn 1 billion won. This left our boy stunned, making him think it was drugs. The other party immediately denied it, claiming this was to prepare to catch a vicious criminal, and instructed our boy to cover up well. He then hung up, leaving only a map transfer. Staring at the address, our boy voiced his confusion. Was this another training session directed by the master, or a genuine trial? Meanwhile, the police investigation continued. After canvassing the neighborhood, Shinji and her partner decided to split their assigned area in half for a more detailed investigation. Her partner told the focused Shinji to eat some freshly cooked ramen first. This casual gesture subtly hinted at the long and difficult chase that lay ahead. Inside the car, detectives grab a quick bite while plotting their next move. To bait the suspect, they coordinate with a reporter to leak news of a breakthrough clue in a 7-year-old cold case. With the call ended, the trap is set. Elsewhere, a man pushes himself through a grueling workout to vent his stress, unaware that a net is being cast to catch him. The TV news stops the man in his tracks, as the police announce they are reopening the investigation into his perfect crime. Watching the reporter, his expression turns cold and heavy with doubt. He's certain his crime was flawless, as only he knows where the evidence is hidden. Yet, the news unsettles him. He pulls a knife from a drawer, wondering if this is a real lead or just a bluff. Driven by paranoia, he slams the knife into the table. He decides he must return to the secret location personally, no matter how difficult the trek, just to ensure his secret remains buried. Under the cover of solitude, he dons a mask and heads into the mountains with a shovel. Though he looks incredibly suspicious, his fear of being caught outweighs any concern for his strange appearance. Deep in the woods, a masked figure frantically digs at the base of a marked tree. With a sharp thud, he finally unearths the hidden prize he's been searching for. What he finds is a small, cloth-wrapped cylinder, far too small to hold 1 billion won. Before he can process the disappointment, a chilling voice demands to know how he found it. A man in a haunting smile mask emerges, clutching a glowing blade. He quickly realizes this intruder isn't a cop, which makes the discovery of his secret mark even more suspicious. Words turn into violence as the masked killer lunges forward like a blur. He brings his blade down with lethal intent, leaving the intruder scrambling in a desperate struggle for survival. Suddenly, a man in a sunflower jacket swings an axe, blocking the killing blow just in time. The forest rings with the screech of clashing steel as the two engage in a high-speed duel. While the two combatants are locked in a fierce struggle, our boy grabs the mysterious bag and bolts into the woods, prioritizing survival and the cargo over the chaos. Back at the clearing, the sunflower jacket man gains the upper hand. He mockingly calls his opponent a well-trained prey, provoking the masked killer into a desperate and reckless counterattack. The gap in skill is simply too wide. Before the killer can land a hit, the sunflower man effortlessly subdues him, whispering a chilling command to sleep as his target collapses. Safely tucked away in an industrial corridor, our boy receives a mysterious call. The voice warns him not to open the container or leave fingerprints, hinting at the dangerous secrets hidden within. Having just released a suspect, our boy is full of doubts on the phone, but the person on the other end tells him to stop overthinking and focus on the next task. Following the instructions, our boy enters the room at the end of the hallway and places the heavy evidence into the empty middle safe. Suddenly, a cruel choice is presented: 1 billion won in the left safe versus a measly 100,000 won wage on the right. It's a high-stakes gamble on human nature. The truly twisted part is that the moment he opens either safe, the middle one containing critical evidence against the serial killer will be instantly incinerated. Choose 1 billion won or uphold justice. He's given only 5 minutes to decide, and if he fails to choose, everything will go up in flames. As the timer ticks down, our boy is torn apart by the decision. That's 1 billion won life-changing money. Distraught, he collapses to the floor, clutching his head. To make matters worse, his precognition isn't working. With less than 2 minutes left, he forces himself to stay calm and deduce the true purpose of this test. Since this is a test from the master, there must be a right answer. Gritting his teeth, he makes his choice, but the erupting flames leave him in a cold sweat. Faced with a life or death test set by the master, our boy forces himself to think rationally, analyzing every choice to find the answer that would score the highest. In that split second, he locks onto his target. With a determined shout, the safe he chose bursts into flames, leaving him breathless as he watches the fire spread for real. Just then, a call from a no-caller ID comes through. Our boy picks it up, and the voice on the other end immediately makes his expression turn dead serious. The caller mocks him for letting 1 billion won in cash burn just to preserve evidence. Even when asked if he regrets it, our boy's sharp gaze remains unwavering. To our guy, catching his mother's killer is worth more than any fortune. He firmly tells the caller that some things in this world are simply more important than money. The mystery man leaves a cryptic remark before hanging up, leaving our boy standing before the 3 safes, staring at his phone in deep thought. Meanwhile, the police station is in total chaos. News reports of new clues in the serial murder case have left Shin Yiji and the other detectives overwhelmed with inquiries. Yiji is frustrated by the leak of fake clues. Even though her boss explains it's a tactic to reopen the cold case, the lack of actual leads is putting her under immense pressure. Despite the media hype, not a single useful tip has come in yet. Yiji's expression darkens as she stares at the lack of progress in the investigation. The police receive an anonymously sent package containing a suspicious black plastic bag. Inspector Shen immediately orders them to trace the sender and sends the contents to the forensics department for DNA analysis. Elsewhere, a furious man is raging in his room. He can't understand why they took his evidence if they're not handing him over to the police. Is this a game, or are they planning to turn him over to someone else? Just then, his phone rings with a call from an unknown number. The call brings up the serial killings from 7 years ago. The furious man immediately realizes who sent the men he encountered on the mountain today. He screams, demanding to know why they broke their agreement. They promised him 1 billion won in 10 years if he stopped killing and kept the secret. With only 3 years left, why did they betray him now? The voice on the line coldly reminds him it was never a deal, but a game he has just lost. They inform him that, earlier today, a kid chose to help catch a criminal instead of taking the 1 billion won. That choice determines the game's outcome, sealing his loss. A tense phone call reveals that all evidence has been handed over to the police, signaling an imminent arrest. Under provocation, a final game is proposed. The man, Choi Soon-chul, is then shown in sheer terror, informed that the final game demands he kill Detective Shin Yeji, the investigator of his cold case, by tomorrow. He desperately questions why, only to receive a chilling command: obey, in the name of the Father. The call abruptly ends, leaving him drenched in cold sweat, alone with the inescapable death order, as despair overwhelms him. Pushed to the brink, Choi Soon-chul finally relents. He picks up the VR helmet, a harsh glint in his eye muttering, if that's the only way. Under the cover of night, Choi Soon-chul arrives at a residential building. He expertly punches in the door code, making his way to Shin Yeji's apartment. Our boy's sudden appearance at the door startles Shinyeji. She asks, puzzled, wasn't he supposed to be working overnight? Our boy nervously explains he just came home to change clothes, as he'd been wearing the same ones for days, and they smelled of salt. Shinyeji wonders why our boy is home so late and curious about his intense recent workouts. Our boy casually deflects, claiming he finds it fun, but deep down, he knows he's preparing to master his eyes of self-awareness. Before leaving, Shinyeji reminds our boy to lock the door and get some rest. Our boy smiles and agrees, though internally, he's agonizing over whether to ask her for advice, but ultimately holds back. Our boy puts on the VR device, a smile on his face, expecting to see his father's AI once more. But upon entering the system, he's met instead by a mysterious woman in a police uniform, her form glitching with digital noise. The mysterious woman calls him by name, Cheon Sa-woo, then asks, "Who are you?" Our boy is instantly bewildered. Amidst his shock, our boy notices the name tag on the woman's uniform reads Myung Jae-hyun. The name feels eerily familiar, stirring a wave of emotion within him. The woman then reveals her identity. She used to be our boy's neighbor and knew his mother, the police officer. This revelation leaves our boy utterly flabbergasted, plunging him into another wave of shock. The woman observes that our boy now speaks exactly like his mother once did, deepening his confusion. When she confirms that mom refers to his late mother, Myung Jae-hyun, who had saved her, our boy is utterly overwhelmed, suddenly exclaiming, "Mom?" Our boy enters the system again, only to find the virtual image of his own mother. Though it's just a cold eye greeting, seeing her face leaves him completely stunned. Seeing his long-lost mother, our boy's emotions boil over. He reaches out in tears, blaming himself for not recognizing her sooner in this digital form. Reality is harsh, as he realizes he can't have a normal conversation with her. To prepare for tomorrow, he pushes through the pain to preview the worst-case scenario. But things don't go as planned when the system restricts his skills in this mode. Our boy is caught off guard, worried the system might fail him now. Just then, the system locks onto Officer Shinyeji, triggering a forced 10-second preview for her. Before our boy can react, the skill activates on its own. After a dizzying transition, our boy sees a terrifying vision. He screams in the preview as the scene shifts to reality, where Shinyeji is currently driving. Yeji seems uneasy while our boy in the vision desperately tries to warn her. Sure enough, an unexpected collision occurs on the street ahead. Yeji accidentally hits a motorcyclist. Driven by instinct and kindness, she rushes out to help. When he claims his leg is broken, she offers him a ride to the hospital. But it's a death trap. The moment Yeji gets close, the man grabs her, covers her mouth, and pulls a gun. This wasn't an accident, it's a targeted assassination. On a dark street, Officer Shinyeji is on high alert, realizing the air is laced with a potent anesthetic. Meanwhile, a mysterious killer in a black helmet has positioned himself right behind her, leveling a glowing knife at her neck. The helmeted killer expresses his disappointment that an adult is his final target. Just as he's about to strike, our boy, Cheon Sa-woo, bursts onto the scene, throwing himself between the two in a desperate move. The masked man urgently calls out, asking if Sa-woo is okay. But on the other side of the impact, our boy is pinned down by the terrifying killer, yet the glowing dagger fails to pierce through, as if striking something incredibly solid. The truth of the impact is revealed. Sa-woo was wearing a stab-proof vest all along. The realization leaves the killer stunned. However, the masked man also begins to wonder how did Sa-woo know about the knife and prepare for it so specifically. Sa-woo quickly sheds his bulky outer clothes, revealing the vest underneath. Ignoring the killer's taunts about him taking off armor, he knows the fight is far from over. Just moments ago, a tactical helmeted killer lunged from above, aiming a lethal stab at our fallen boy on the ground. He declared this strike would be an instant death, the blade driving straight for a vital point. Yet, at the brink of disaster, the preview system automatically activated. A prompt revealed that within a 5-meter radius of Sa-woo, he can now observe and react to everything in real time for 1 full minute. The skill instantly triggered, fracturing his perspective. The future was rewritten. No longer was it Sa-woo falling, but rather Sa-woo, or a figure with his presence, donning a purple filigreed mask, striking like lightning to drive his blade into the attacker's arm. The assassin screamed in agony and collapsed, the situation instantly reversed. Now, it was the masked man holding the blade, looming over his foe and coldly stating, "You move, and I'll kill you." The masked man didn't hesitate. Stepping on the assassin's bloodied shoe, his blade descended once more with deadly force. The impact was so immense it sent the armored foe flying back, hurling them down from the high rise. Meanwhile, in reality, Sawu was bearing the immense synchronous mental strain of this battle, with a countdown relentlessly ticking. After one final, brutal strike, the enemy from the vision tumbled completely from the rooftop. Back in an indoor space, a different man holding a gun seemed to sense something, whirling around and bracing against the wall, staring tensely downward. Meanwhile, the masked man with the purple goggles had landed back on the ground, his blade still emitting a blue glow. His gaze, sharp behind the goggles, was lethal as he murmured, "I can see everything." He then swiftly closed in on the original fallen, helmeted attacker, pinning him down and pressing the tip of his blade firmly against the man's throat. In the dark alley late at night, the killer with the purple goggles, purple mirror killer, coldly gazes at the collapsed brown-haired figure, Kim Woo-min, whose face is twisted in utter horror and desperation as he lets out a desperate scream. Next, we see a bizarre room where one person tightly holds and subdues another from behind. The room is dimly lit, with a metal door in the middle and a metal bed with chains attached to the wall on one side, suggesting a place of confinement. At this moment, a man with tattooed shoulders, Byun Insu, brandishing a curved knife stands before a metal bed. On the bed lies another man, motionless with blood on his neck, Cheon Woo-hwan, Seon-woo's father. The accompanying dialogue reveals the immense risk involved in mastering the self-awareness eyes. The figure of the purple mirror killer reappears, holding a weapon with a red hilt, his gaze icy. The scene then shifts focus to a character wearing a black helmet, Seon-woo, his eyes filled with tears, struggling to contain his anguish. The time flashes back to 25 minutes and 19 seconds. The killer in spiked armor lunges at Seon-woo. But our guy has already activated his ability. With a precise high kick, he sends his assailant flying backward with a sharp impact. The purple mirror killer falls onto his back, his arms flailing uselessly in the air. As the dust settles, Seon-woo pins the killer's head to the ground with his knee, completely neutralizing any resistance, leaving the assailant groaning in pain. Seon-woo looks down coldly at the now unconscious killer on the ground. A gloved hand maintains a tight grip on the killer's throat, cutting off his air supply. Time 38 minutes and 21 seconds. The fight is over. Seon-woo crouches nearby, panting heavily, his body exhausted from overusing his ability. The mysterious glowing figure declares that he has escaped the danger. On the verge of exiting the VR system, Seon-woo endures the physical strain and calls out Shin Yiji's name. Sirens approach in the distance, and Yiji wields her weapon, watching him from the alley entrance. Back in reality, Seon-woo rises from lying down, asking the arriving Yiji with concern if she's okay. He tells her the killer is completely unconscious, and the police can cuff him now, crediting her for the capture. However, faced with the blood on Seon-woo's mouth and his superhuman combat skills, Yiji is filled with shock and questions. She can't help but press for the truth behind everything. But apprehending the criminal is the urgent priority now. Seon-woo only manages to say explaining would take forever, and that she should focus on the task at hand, promising to call her later. Watching Seon-woo turn and leave, a complex yet relieved smile finally appears on Yiji's face. She softly thanks him, grateful that he has finally trusted her enough to share his secret. That very night, news breaks about the arrest of the Gulcheon district serial killer suspect. Outside the interrogation room, Seon-woo accompanies Yiji to handle the aftermath. When hearing the police commissioner himself arrived late at night, a sharp look crosses Seon-woo's face, as if sensing something unusual behind all this. This is because, according to the suspect's statement, he demanded to see the commissioner precisely because he insists that high-level forces within the police colluded with a major criminal organization, and he must personally disclose this to the top authority. The reporting officer also appears exasperated, as the suspect made such shocking claims and even refused to testify to anyone below the commissioner's rank. This forced the higher-ups to send the commissioner to the scene late at night. Finally, on the other side of the surveillance feed, Commissioner Kong Jun-beep sits across from the suspect with his arms crossed and a stern expression, demanding that he start talking now. Inside the late-night interrogation room, a detective questions Choi Soon-chul, the serial killer from 7 years ago, demanding to know why he murdered those innocent students. Handcuffed, Choi Soon-chul scoffs in response. He reveals he was once a struggling webtoon artist whose 5 years of hard work ended in failure due to rampant piracy on illegal sites. His voice turns bitter as he reveals that the illegal sites were linked to adult gambling platforms, and those so-called pure kids were gambling away their lives, hoping for quick riches. The interrogator pounces on the flaw in his logic. If that's the case, why did you stop after 4 murders? Choi Soon-chul first asks if this conversation is truly confidential. After receiving assurance, he finally unveils the truth. The day after his 4th murder, someone claiming to be the operator of the illegal site contacted him. Not only did they immediately send him 1 billion won in cryptocurrency as hush money, but they also promised another 1 billion if he vanished and erased all traces of his crimes. Choi Soon-chul warns the officer that this mysterious group operates like a cult and has infiltrators within the police force itself. He uses this knowledge as a bargaining chip, demanding his life be protected in exchange for more information. At that moment, a calmly asked question shifts the atmosphere. The door swings open, revealing a mysterious figure in tactical gear, wearing an eye patch, standing silently at the threshold. In response to the terrified inquiries, the intruder coldly identifies himself as the executor. He is here by the orders of the father. He lays out Choi Soon-chul's sins, speaking without fear and arrogantly claiming to know about us. He ignores the killer's final, desperate pleas for mercy, brushing aside his cries of accepting legal punishment. The next instant, Choi Soon-chul's body is violently flung, shattering through the interrogation room wall amid his terrified screams. At the end of the last chapter, high-ranking police officials are seen in a serious discussion. The next day, the eye-patched executor infiltrates the police station, controlling the serial killer Choi Soon-chul with some kind of device. Under control, Choi Soon-chul is sweating profusely, begging for mercy. But the executor coldly declares his execution in the name of the father. Immediately, a powerful force smashes him backwards, shattering the wall behind him. The next day, this suicide inside the police headquarters causes an uproar. Media swarms the scene, and emergency news reports broadcast the incident, leaving the police in an extremely difficult position. News reports announce that the prime suspect in the serial murder case fell to his death during interrogation. Under immense public pressure, the police commissioner resigns. During this sensitive time, our boy's sister figure Shin Yiji arranges to meet him in a quiet church. Her expression is grave, and after seeing the news, our guy already has a bad feeling. With a serious expression, Sunwoo tells Yiji that Choi Soon-chul wasn't a suicide, but a murder. This revelation shocks Yiji. However, Sunwoo then reveals an even more startling truth. His own father's death 7 years ago wasn't a suicide either, but a murder disguised as one. This leaves Yiji stunned, and Sunwoo's emotions begin to boil over. An agitated Sunwoo demands to know who killed his father. Yiji urgently calms him down, confessing that she couldn't reveal the truth earlier because the enemy's reach is everywhere, and they had to wait for the right moment according to a great prophecy. The mysterious man continues the prophecy, revealing that Sunwoo's mother, Myung Jae-hyun, was once a legendary detective famed for her almost supernatural intuition in solving cold cases. Hearing this, Sunwoo struggles to hide his disbelief. He questions why, if his mother was so exceptional, her death was never publicly honored by the police. The man delivers a chilling answer. Myung Jae-hyun did not die in the line of duty. During her final investigation, she faced immense, unexplained pressure from powerful sources to drop the case. Any colleagues who tried to help her suffered severe professional setbacks. As a top detective, it only took a moment for her to become an outcast within her own police force. The man recalls 12 years ago, when he was chief of the Violent Crimes Unit and Myung Jae-hyun was his subordinate. The scene flashes back to the police station. The chief is furious, demanding to know why Jae-hyun keeps disobeying orders to investigate the forbidden case. He warns her of the immense pressure coming from higher-ups that she cannot handle alone. He tries to persuade her to wait and gather their strength for the right time. But Jae-hyun, visibly agitated, argues that missing this opportunity could mean waiting over a decade for the next. Finally, the chief issues an ultimatum: hand over her badge and leave the force. If she disobeys again, she will be fired. In the hallway, the man, then her colleague, catches up to Jae-hyun, perplexed as to why she is making so many enemies, even turning the chief against her. Jae-hyun calmly grips his hand and states that some criminals are meant for her to catch, and some fights must be taken on even when you know you'll lose. With that, she resolutely walks out the precinct doors. 2 days later, on a rainy night, a funeral is held. A young girl runs into the funeral hall in a state of fear and deep grief. The story shifts back to the past, where a young student named Shin Yaeji is stopped on campus by a stern officer. Flashing his badge with a heavy expression, he insists they find somewhere private to talk. Inside a solemn church as rain pours outside, Yaeji is filled with resentment. She can't wrap her head around why someone as kind as Aunt Jahan had a funeral so lonely and completely unattended. The officer sighs and reveals the bitter truth. Those who should have been there were too afraid of offending the higher-ups. He looks Yeji in the eye, asking if she wants to change things while mentioning Jahan's prophecy. Shocked, Yeji argues passionately, unable to accept being kept away from the funeral of the people who helped her so much. However, the officer sternly cuts her off, insisting that now is not the time for reckless action. Clenching his fists, the officer's own rage burns just as brightly as Yeji's. He is certain Jahan's death was a murder staged as a suicide, but against such a shadow organization, he has no choice but to lie low and wait. He gives Yeji a final warning: follow the path destiny has laid out, no matter how hard it feels. Everyone is enduring this silence for one reason, waiting for the day our boy Sunwoo finally awakens his true power.